Um, uh, Okay, we got recording going? Yep. Okay. Good morning. It is 9 o'clock and I'm calling the meeting to order for Lyon County Board of County Commissioners, Thursday, July 18th, 2024. Today, our actions will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restriction must be reasonable, may restrict place and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. Board of Commissioners convening other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during the meeting may convene as any of those boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. This meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch, and since the Board of Health meets at 1 o'clock, we will probably be breaking for a lunch. Roll call today, we have Commissioner Hendricks, Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner Keller, Commissioner Hockaday in chambers, and Commissioner Jacobson on Zoom. Invocation will be given today by Irene Albrighton of the First Christian Church. I'll please rise.
Good morning. Let's pray together. To God, we begin this meeting by pausing to give you thanks for this day, for this country we live in, and for these elected officials who give of their time, knowledge, and investment into the lives of the people they represent. We ask your blessing on the work before them today as they work together for the common good of Lyon County. We also ask your blessing on our nation as a whole and on the world we share with our brothers and sisters around the globe. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our first public participation of the day, no action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It's anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, but may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. We have any public comment this morning? Seeing nobody in chambers, I do see Chloe Chisholm.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Chloe Chisholm. I'm the Government Relations Advisor for ND Energy. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to speak this morning. I'm just calling in again this morning with a quick reminder as we approach the start of construction on our Walker River substation for the Nevada Green Link project. This construction will begin shortly, most likely next week. So we would just like to keep the commission and the community informed as this will create an increase in some construction related activity. I would like to stress that there will not be any road closures or power outages related to this construction, just simply some increase in some construction related activity along US 95, which then turns into Sierra Way and leads into our site. Chair Hockaday, I did send you an email last week Since this is in your district, if you would like to discuss this matter in more detail, please feel free to contact me at any time. We have some additional details from our construction contractors and some answers to maybe some potential frequently asked questions. And to all, please feel free to contact me at any time as well if you have any questions about this construction or hear from your constituents. Open door policy to reach out to me. So again, thank you for your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to item 5 for possible action, review and adoption of agenda. Everybody had a chance to review? Any comments? Nobody has anything here. Any public input? Seeing none, then I'll look for a motion on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right. We have a 5-0 to adopt the agenda. Okay, let's see. We have first time certain 9 a.m. for a presentation only. Recognize employees who hit service milestones with Lyon County.
Good morning, commissioners.
Yeah. Morning.
Mic on? We're good. Okay. Colleen Unterbrink, Human Resources Director for Lyon County. Thank you for having me here today, and I'm really excited. I have quite a list of awards here to present, service awards to employees. So I'm going to go through this. I think we have several here in person, and we have 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20, 25, and 35. For those of you with 10 or more years of service, please stop by Human Resources to collect your special swag that we have for you. So, okay. Andrew, do you have a preference? Do you want employees to come up or whatever you'd like? However you normally. Okay. Okay. We'll see. All right. So starting with 5 years of service to Lyon County, we have Matthew Clapham. I'm gonna just keep going. Michael Zaprzelka, excuse me, Mandy Murray, Rebecca Otto, Rhonda Smith, Lindsay McCabe, Monica Niemeyer, Robert Cobb, Nicholas Nelson, Jonathan Hernandez, R.C. Reyes, Rebecca Martinez. There we go. Hey, congratulations. Andrew has your. You didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Sorry. You know where I will. Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Douglas Cassabaum. Misty Crank. She's here. I heard she's here. Thank you. Amy Rand, I know she's here. Congratulations, Amy. Cynthia Geddes. Rebecca Williams. Kimberly Lapp. Kishore Panda. Congratulations. Ramiro Suka. Natasha Valiska. Thanks, Sheila. We have Brittany Denoyer. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Sandy Merrill. And Noemi Baye. There's you. All right, so those are our 5-year service awards. Okay, next up, we have 10 years of service. Nathaniel Cooper. Susanna Dutton. Congratulations. Gabe Santos. Sherry Roberts. Heather Benson. Will Apgar, Nicole Cates. All right, congratulations. Now on to our 15-year. Thank you. Okay, Herbert Parada. Holly Valines. Wayne Holly. Go. Congratulations. Brian Kirkley. Andrea Anderson. Lori Matthews. Patrick Gertz. Okay. Moving right along. Thank you. All right, 20 years. I can handle these. if you'd like. Thank you. Thanks for your help. Cleve Barwig. And Robert Stout. Oh, there we go. Congratulations. We do have one more, Josh Foley. All right. And now on to 25 years. It's impressive. Troy Valines. Avel Ortiz. Okay, Catherine Richke. Philip Thomas. Okay, so 25 years. Congratulations. Last one we have Judge Camille, 35 years of service. All right, thank you.
You want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But before we go on, I would just like to express my personal appreciation to all of you for your years of service here. As I've said many times from this dais, we have the best county staff in the state, and you guys are all part of it. And further that, and your loyalty and service translates to your coworkers. So I appreciate everything you do, and for helping us have the best county in the state. Thank you.
Anything?
I think Commissioner Henderson said it all, and I have to agree with him, and thank you very much for your service.
I agree. Lyon County doesn't always pay the best, but people stay and are dedicated, and we really appreciate it. It makes everything work.
It's always nice to get compliments from people in the community, and that's because we have our employees that stick around and get the job done. They're experts in the field, and I am just so happy that we have the people that we do, and they stay with us. That's fantastic. Thank you very much to everybody. Okay, we're gonna. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so if you want everybody who's here, come on up.
Yep.
To or not, I don't know if Rob had anything to say to them because we skipped him.
Forgot he was on. Okay. Oh, Commissioner Jacobson, you know, I bouncing back and forth here. Did you have something that you would like to say? I know they've left, but I'm sure they'll hear it.
Well, thank you, Chair Hockaday. I appreciate all the longevity award recipients and greatly value their expertise and what they bring to our wonderful county. Thank you, sir.
And sorry I missed you on that one. It
That's
won't
all right.
happen again. Yeah, it won't happen again today.
Yeah, it's okay.
6B, time certain at 9:10, and we are past that. For presentation only, a presentation by Kendra Kostelecki with Waste Management in Nevada Incorporated to provide an update on the progress of the Silver Springs Transfer Station and the launch of the county's first neighborhood cleanup program. Go ahead.
By the way, great job saying my name. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair Hockaday and members of the board, thank you for having us this morning. For the record, as you mentioned, I am Kendra Kostelecki. I'm the contract manager for Waste Management, and I am proud to introduce you to the team that is handling the contract for Lyon County and making it work. With me are the district manager, Morgan Deal, who runs operations around Dayton and Stagecoach on the west side of the county. District manager Steve McQuirk and route manager Christian Biebert, who handle operations in the Silver Spring in the north end of the county. And of course, you know Daryl Brown, who is from DNS Waste, and he handles Yerington and everything south of the county. And also we have Jorge Ballesteros, who is Lockwood landfill manager, and Daniela Knight, who is an engineer. So as we enter the new contract, we continue to see participation rates grow. Roughly 100 residential properties per month were added between March and June. The overall numbers in residential customer areas serviced by Waste Management is now 9,841, up from about 454 year over year. The number of commercial customers is up by 24 year over year, from 208 to 232. And we currently have 34 customers that are noted as multi-family units. Under this contract, these are commercial properties that have 3 or more dwelling units, including apartment buildings and mobile home parks. New under this contract is the neighborhood cleanup program. It's a curbside collection program for 2 bulky items, such as furniture at no additional cost. In June, residential customers received a mailing which had these materials in it, 2 stickers and some program instructions. Customers are asked to place 1 sticker on each bulky item and place it curbside for collection. Customers can use 1 sticker this week, because the program is going right now, and 1 sticker in the week of October, or they can use both stickers this week and both stickers in October. Customers may also choose to use, if requested, WM will collect more than those 2 items. Those 2 items will be charged at the regular price for bulky collection on a service day, which is $11.11, including the franchise fee. Customers must call to confirm their set out times in advance, and at that time, a staff member will just confirm the eligibility of the items for removal. WM will not collect electronic waste or household hazardous waste. Calling in also allows us to make sure that we have appropriate assets assigned to collect those bulky items, because it's hot out right now, and this is very physically, I know, surprise, physically demanding work. So we want to make sure that they are properly resourced. This program is only for residential customers with collection accounts. If items are left curbside outside of these parameters, those items will not be collected. Again, this is the first week of the program, and already we are getting some really positive feedback from it and great participation. We've had 613 customers called in to schedule pickups so far, and customer service representatives are getting some positive feedback from people who say that they don't have a correct vehicle or the physical strength to take things to the transfer stations themselves. And speaking of the transfer station, I know you're excited to hear, I've got some news that you've been waiting for. WM is in contract. WM is in contract on 2 parcels at 2425 Almond Drive in Silver Springs. We have a team working on the site design and securing conditional use permits. As you can see in the zoning map on the right side of the slide here, the property is north of Highway 50 and west of Orange Lane. A conditional use permit application was submitted to Lyon County's Planning Department earlier this week. Slide, please. Thank you. So this image is turned 90 degrees just so I could fit it on the slide. Left is north and right is south. WM trucks and the public will access the property on the north end side from Almond Drive. And this design includes a modular office with parking for customers who need to come by to discuss their accounts. There is a transfer building, a spaced out area to offload vehicles and trailers, and an additional maneuvering area for drivers to turn around and safely back up into the transfer building. Next slide, please. So this is the current transfer station building design, which is required to have a tip floor that is a minimum of 6,000 square feet. And as you can see, the design of this building is just a little bit different than the one in Dayton. In Dayton, there's what we call a pit. So the transfer truck drives underneath and we push the material into the top of the truck. In this building, it's designed so the truck will back up into the building and then a bucket loader will put the material into the top inside of the building. To close out, I just want to remind everyone, please do not use Google to find a contact number for WM. Google's great, but the algorithms drive you in a direction you don't necessarily want to go. We want to get you to our local office where our agents are eager to give you good information quickly. Please use this contact information for your Lyon County contract. And I want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to provide wonderful service to the residents and businesses here in Lyon County. And our team is ready to answer any questions that you have at this point.
Commissioner Hendricks.
What is your estimated completion date
For the
for the
building,
transfer station?
so right
to get
now
that
we
ready?
have to get a conditional use permit to move forward. We may back out of the property if the conditional if the conditional use permit isn't approved, because we need to find a different location. So I can't give you the estimated completion date, but right now we're on track to beat what was set out.
Okay.
Commissioner Keller.
So how close is this property to the last time you guys went out there and you located a piece of land and then you turned it down because of environmental?
Yes,
So is this close to that piece of property?
no, it's not. It's north of Highway 50. It's in an area that is zoned as industrial. And we've been working with the planning department to make sure that we're looking at that master plan and that we're meeting as many qualifications as we can. There are some contradictions that have been identified in the master plan and the current planning outlines. So we're working with the county to navigate that.
Because I believe you did try to buy a piece of property on that street before.
Not on that street. Before, the property that we had been looking at was closer to the fire station and it was below.
Oh, in the past, you were under contract, I think 6 or 8 years ago. So in your records there, you guys, and it might have been orange instead of almond. So I might have
Yeah.
that's why I was asking you if you knew where it was, because you looked into the environmentals, your company did, and you said, no, we couldn't do it. So that just put us off farther to where we didn't get
So that predates me and I'm telling you, I am here to make this work for you.
Okay, so I look back in your records and make sure that you're looking at that. Another thing is I couldn't look at the building real quick. Which way is that opening facing? Because we asked if it could face not into the wind.
Yeah, so I think, is it facing east? The opening, so the opening faces east,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Faces east. Fantastic. That's what we wanted. So the wind will pick it up and blow it all through the county and out to the lake if you don't.
Right, no, and since the truck is being loaded inside of the building, that'll also help to contain that.
And is there fencing on that? Are you gonna have fencing on that
Oh,
far
yes,
side to
sir.
collect,
Mhm.
Yes.
catch it? Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Kendra, for being here. Certainly appreciate it. Encouraged with what I see. I hope you plan on repainting the transfer station in Dayton to look the same because that's a pretty sharp looking building.
Right, we're trying to rebrand, but yeah.
That is, I like that, and I'm glad that you mentioned the bulk item pickup because I had a note to ask you about that because I know it was this week,
Oh,
and I'm glad to hear that it's been participated in and you're getting good feedback from that. So thank you. I have no complaints.
Commissioner Keller, you have another issue here?
So on those stickers for the bulk item, if people don't want to have that bulk item sitting in front of their house, can they go to the transfer station and with the sticker and just give it to you guys at the transfer station?
so the program isn't outlined that way. They do have a voucher to use. But that is something that we can explore. We just aren't set up to do it right now.
Okay,
We would prefer to just pick that up with a sticker. But that's something that we could look at doing in the future.
I just didn't know if people wanted a refrigerator out in front of their house, or I don't know if you collect refrigerators, but washer and dryers or whatever out in front of their house.
So it should only be there though for that week. Like they should be calling us to say, I'm going to set it out this week and I'm going to put a sticker. If they're leaving it out there longer than that, I don't know what the code is here, but it could be a code violation. So we don't want them to put it out until the week of collection.
So are refrigerators allowed?
Thank you.
So I don't want kids in the neighborhood climbing in refrigerators and stuff like that. So by putting it out on the curb.
Are refrigerators locked anymore? Oh, no.
Refrigerators are allowed, because first off, you have to make sure that there's no freon like this. I think that's one of the standards. In other words, the refrigerator can- you can- Number one, they have
Yeah.
some-
Um,
I'm Darryl.
yeah, Daryl, could you come up to the podium so we can get it on record? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm Darryl Brown, DNS Waste Removal. Refrigerators, as far as the bulk item to pick up, number one, they've got to be free of CFC, Freon.
Mhm.
And number two, it's not something you would want to put on curbside in case somebody got into that refrigerator or anything else. And then the other factor is also, people might put it out there with, taped up full of rotten food, and then that's a whole different item there.
Thank you.
So
Anything further?
So maybe in the future, if we're picking those things up, maybe we could get the sticker to be able to use it at the landfill. Future thoughts. Thank you. At the transfer
I
station.
can continue. On our vouchers that we use, that the people are able to use in Yarrington and Smith Valley, we take washers, dryers, refrigerators if they're pumped. We take furniture, and that's what a lot of our vouchers are used for. It's very seldom municipal solid waste. Most of the vouchers are used for just stuff that's been laying in the yard. So.
Okay. Anything further, Commissioner Jacobson? Do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. No, I appreciate the update, and my questions were answered, or questions were asked by the other commissioners. So I do appreciate the update and look forward to our next meeting. Well, not next meeting, but next time we have them on our agenda.
Okay. My point would basically be, there's engine oil, antifreeze, tires, things such as that. If the transfer stations are not going to take that, it would really be nice to have some information there where say, well, we don't take, like we take 5 quarts or whatever, 5 gallons, whatever the limit is, where other businesses take them. For instance, Smith Valley Garage takes used engine oil because they use it in their heater. They've got a 1,000-gallon tank. Take your engine oil down there. I don't have to worry about going to the transfer station. But anything that you don't take, electronics, whatever, if there's some way you could connect us with places that may take it. I know in Quincy, they had a program where you could take electronics because there's a lot of silver solder. Silver's worth money. They broke them up and took the silver solder. So there are companies out there that will work with people when we have nowhere else to take this trash, because you know where it ends up in the desert. And we've got to get the word out about where you can go with this debris and get it taken care of.
And I appreciate what you're saying. That's definitely a challenge all across our area in Northern Nevada. We will promote, and I don't want to take this opportunity for anybody who's listening to let us know if there's a business in the community that we can help promote that does those services. We would absolutely love to share that with our customers. Our customer service agents would be happy to share any information that we have. Sometimes finding that information can be a little challenging.
Okay. Anything further? And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And not 10 o'clock yet, so we're going to move on to item 7. Presentation of awards and a recognition of accomplishments. Do we have any? And thank you very much for coming. Don't see anything going on here, so we're going to move past 7 and go to 8, Commissioner, County Manager reports. Let's start with Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Just real quickly, attended Boys and Girls Club Scholarship Awards banquet. That was excellent. I want to congratulate the Lyon County students that are receiving significant scholarships and moving on with their lives. Also, a shout out and a hats off to the Fernley 4th of July parade, fireworks, park. We're all packed, unbelievable atmosphere. Very well organized. That is all I have right now, Chairman Hockaday. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hendricks.
I too attended the Fernley 4th of July celebration, attended the Comstock Historical District Board meeting and the National Association of Counties annual conference in Tampa, Florida, sat on the Public Land Steering Committee, attended my last National County Leadership Institute meeting and sat in on the Rural Action Caucus and a whole bunch of other great workshops.
Commissioner Keller.
I attended the NACO Legislative Committee, and then also attended it back at the NACO conference, an expo in Tampa Bay. That conference was pretty nice. It's where I studied the effects of the impact of extreme humidity on the human body. And it was challenging, but it was very insightful. Got a lot of information. Is invaluable. So that was a fantastic trip. Attended the Planning Commission, and I also attended the Independence Day celebrations in Fernley. It was a lot of patriotism. Just an all around good time to be there. And I believe that's it.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have much to report. The Nevada Association of Counties did not have a board meeting last month due to the upcoming national conference. And I want to thank those of you who went and endured the Sweat Fest. I know exactly what you went through. I've been there, done that. Due to a plumbing emergency, I wasn't able to attend the Campo meeting. But Melinda Cash gave you guys a pretty good report of what happened there. And, you know, what they did, they accepted the first phase of the US 50 East Carson City streets program. But I will say again that Campo is now more aware and certainly more focused on the Lyon County portion that's within their boundaries. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. I attended the planning commission also. Interesting. The Smith Valley Conservation District to discuss issues there, and the Mason Valley Conservation District also attended the Tampa National Association of Counties. Got to say that the first day I left, I tried to leave the hotel room in a sports coat and tie. The tie came off as soon as I walked out the door. And the coat was off in about, I don't know, 50 steps. After that, I did not wear a sports coat and tie again. It probably 95%, maybe even 100% humidity because it fogged your sunglasses. So it was an interesting place, a lot of information. Very much appreciated all of the classes that we went to and information and contact information. So I do have some reports to give to different offices here in the county to let them know that we did gather up stuff for everybody, and that was the point of it. We don't just go there and sit around and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a place outside our home. So we will try to get information back to those areas that need them, and we will go from there. So have County Manager, your report.
All right, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So first off, I want to apologize for not making the last Board of County Commissioners meeting. I was sick. So I do apologize. So my update's kind of longer than usual because there's been a lot of things taking place since the last time I gave an update. So to lead off, I've had over the last couple months, several meetings with NV Energy, and I will be having regarding different issues around Lyon County and development and that type of thing. I will be scheduling another meeting with them shortly to discuss solar panels on public lands and see how we can work together and how they can support us to mitigate some of the impacts of some of these projects. Because as the board is aware, working with BLM, sometimes those concerns aren't necessarily addressed. So we'll be, I hope to have a positive update on that in the near future. Additionally, I've had a couple meetings with FAA regarding the Silver Springs Airport and the parallel taxiway project. You may remember we were hoping to get a grant to do the design work for the parallel taxiway this year. However, we were informed that we do have to do a cultural survey before we can apply for that grant. And so we're working through that with our contractor with our engineering consultant on that and trying to figure out how we can best move forward with that. So I, again, hope to have an update on that in the near future. Moving on, Aaron and I have been working with the Central Lyon Vector Control Board to get that board reestablished. And so they have had a meeting, they've elected a chair and vice chair, and so we are moving forward with that. There is one more opening on that board though, that I do want to make the board and the public aware of. So if anybody is interested in applying to be on that board, please contact Aaron for that application and we can get that process started. Another thing, I met with the director of the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation to discuss open space and recreation facilities in Lyon County, outdoor recreation facilities in Lyon County. It's a very positive meeting. And so I look forward to working with them. One of the things that I would like to have come out of that meeting is to work towards some different planning projects for outdoor recreation in Lyon County. So that was really good. On a related note, I had a meeting with the Dayton Pop Warner Group and so some really good news there. They are seeing some record attendance and record participation in that. But with that comes some challenges finding enough space to have games and practices. And so working with them to try and kind of figure out if there's a solution, a way that the county can come up with something to to meet those needs. And so I look forward to continuing to work on that and bringing something forward to the county in the future, to the Board of County Commissioners in the future. I also attended the NACO conference in Tampa. There was a lot of really good information. It was a very busy meeting. Run from one session to the next. Made me very thankful for the climate here in northern Nevada. So it was, but it was a good trip, and like I said, a lot of really good information. And then finally, I had a meeting with Congressman Amade's office this week, actually yesterday, regarding the lands bill, and so and we're continuing to work through that process. And I think I've got a meeting scheduled next week as well with on the Senate side. So we're continuing to push that forward. So just wanted to give the board a quick update on that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners?
Is there an update on the capital improvements funding request we made in DC?
CFP.
Oh, yeah, so we're still working through that process. I know a number of the projects that we had submitted have been forwarded to committee, and I'll bring a more formal update to the BOCC as we move forward with that. But I know I plan to have the Porter Group give an update, I think at the next board meeting on where we're at with that. So.
Commissioner Keller.
I did have one question because you brought up NV Energy. So we had brownouts in Silver Springs area. It affected 2,000 customers. Is there any way when you're talking to them, I'd like to know why they didn't just go to a blackout? I think they can flip the switch nowadays to go to a blackout, because a brownout makes it to where you can't use any of your appliances because it'll damage them. So then you got to flip the breakers. And then when the power comes back on, you got to go back. And in my case, I actually had to go to an elderly relative that I had to go flip their breakers, and then 4 a.m, go flip the breakers back on. It'd just be easier to go to a blackout, and then all the lights come back on when the power comes back on.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and I can certainly ask. I think that specific to that one was an equipment failure, is what I had heard. So maybe I don't know if that had something to do with it,
but a brownout is hard on everything. And I also wanted to ask, I don't know if this is the right spot or not, but on the advisory boards, could we get them to fill out some kind of attendance of who shows up, or a sign-in sheet, or just tell us how many people showed up at the meetings? Because when we get reports from them, I want to know if it's a real true reflection of the community, or is it just 1 or 2 people that show up?
Okay.
Thank you.
No, and to piggyback on that, because we did discuss this, it's a good idea to know, is there 150, 200, 300 people there? So it gives a little bit more emphasis to whatever is going to be presented to us. If there's 2 people and they want to make some significant change, that's not really a community issue then. It's not input from the community. So I'm going to start asking Smith Valley Advisory and the Park Board in the South to have a little attendance slip for everybody that's there. They can just sign in, and it'll give us an idea of how important the issue really is. Sometimes we do have standing room at an advisory board, and that's a pretty significant issue for our board.
Okay. I can work with Aaron and we can get something implemented.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Che. I don't want to turn this into a pick on NV Energy report, but when they were here the last time and we asked them about the number of blackouts and brownouts we've been having, they really didn't have a good answer why. They just tried to blame everything on the weather. I think, we might want to have them come back and answer that question a little more, because the problem's continuing. And I realize it's 100 degrees out there. Okay, I get that, but they should anticipate that and have sufficient equipment in place. So that's all. I'll get off that soapbox then.
Commissioner Henderson, anything? Okay. Oh, go ahead. You got more? Yeah, we'll get with Rob. Nothing here. Okay, Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Then we'll let him off the hook. Number 9, elected official reports. The report from Dayton Justice, criminal and civil statistics, criminal and civil statistics included. Elected official, and we have the sheriff.
Good morning, Lyon County Sheriff Brad Pope for the record. Just give you guys a heads up, when the final preparations and plans for Night in the Country next week. We do our final walkthrough and plan. We submitted our plans and, everything looks really good. We're really excited. Everybody, involved is working well together and hopefully it's gonna be a very safe event. So other than that, nothing else to report to the board, but just want to let you guys know it's going to be a big event in Lyon County.
Questions? Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Sheriff Pope, I was contacted by a lady here in Fernley regarding abandoned vehicles or vehicles that are working that are cluttering the yard, so to speak, and it may be a violation of the Fernley code. Do they reach out to code enforcement in Fernley, or is that the first step in getting the police involvement, or is there zero police involvement on that kind of stuff? I know that it's a code enforcement issue in Fernley.
They can reach out to everyone. They have no problem towing illegal vehicles to help the city of Fernley out.
Say that again?
They can reach out to either one of us, either the city of Fernley or us.
Okay,
We have no problem towing them to help the city of Fernley out.
thank you, sir.
Anything further? Thank you, Sheriff. Appointed official reports, item number 10. Do we have any appointed official reports other than Josh? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Foley.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. I just wanted to let the board know, I'm sure you may be aware from letters that have gone out from our office already, but our office has been implementing electronic payments for bills that come in for payment. And so we analyzed it. We spend just for the check itself, 4.5 cents for the check. And then when you add envelopes and postage, it ends up being fairly expensive, and sometimes checks get lost in the mail. We have to reissue checks, and then you go through that cycle again. It costs us to do it electronically, to put it in someone's bank account directly, 10 cents per item, 8 cents for a batch, and we run a batch normally every week. So you have to get approximately 5 electronic payments in each batch to make it actually pencil out. And then we pay additional $55 a month flat fee just for the service at the bank. We have quite a few signed up. I have to give a lot of credit to Billy Milligan in my office. She went through on the accounting, the software side to get it set up and with the bank. And then Noemi in my office also has spent a lot of time reaching out to vendors to get their electronic information if they want to. It's optional, but it makes it so it's more convenient for them and saves the county money. So just want to let you know.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. This is a great idea. Like I discussed with you earlier, when I get my mileage checks, that's the only check I get in the mail, and this is, it's a lot smarter and like you said, it's cheaper. So way to go.
Thank you.
Anything? Commissioner Jacobson, anything? Okay.
No, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Easy going on that one. And Ms. Allison.
Morning, Commissioners. Taylor Allison, Lyon County Emergency Manager for the record. The county manager asked me to come up and provide a brief update on our support we're providing the city of Yerington on their water emergency declaration. We're continuing to work with the city manager and the public works director and their contracted project engineers on assessing moving forward with, and I have to give a lot of kudos to Mr. Burketta, who's been leading the coordination with the engineers on site assessments, the well failure analysis, and moving forward with the test wells to get them back up to their normal municipal water production capacity. So that full scope of work is going to the city council on August 12th in their meeting. But we're working with them. You may have seen the recent press release that we're now asking the community, please conserve water where possible with these heat waves. They're killing us, not only with the heat and the temperatures, but production production capacity. It's amazing how motors and electronics do not like heat, and they don't like running in the heat of the day. So not only on using our water, irrigating through 100+ degree temps, but also the equipment itself doesn't like the heat. So any way you can conserve water, particularly the residents in Mason, we're seeing really increased demands than the city has seen in several years that we've looked at historical data in the Mason area. So when they outuse the production in Mason, it also creates demands here within the city as well. So I'll take any questions. We'll have a better update once the scope of work is finalized and we get it to the city for approval.
Question? Commissioner Keller?
Are they taking the advantage right now of when you send out that emergency to cut back on water for information on how to have healthier lawns, healthier parks and stuff by making them drought tolerant, by cutting them off? The longer you let them go without water, the roots reach out farther, everything else, and it's better for everything. Is there an informational thing going out with that?
We are providing public information, some lawn health information. We can certainly add to that. I know we also reached out to the school district for their lawns, such as at the high school, and how we can cut back while maintaining the health and longevity of their fields. So it's a priority for us that we want to keep those healthy as much as we can, but cut back.
Yeah, usually in this heat, people think adding more water because it's hot, because we're hot and we drink more. It's better for the plants to actually go reach out farther and be more healthier. And so they should be cutting back a little bit naturally. So I was just wondering. Thank you.
Absolutely. I just have to give a shout, state, federal agencies, environmental protection, Division of Water Resources, of course, Division of Emergency Management have all leaned forward to help us as we try to navigate this well response. And so appreciate the assistance. They've been making a pathway for us so that we can get it across the finish line by this time next year. And like Sheriff mentioned, with Night in the Country, we've been working with Boys and Girls Club and the support of Perry and Sons to utilize ag wells and other water sources to keep the demands through next week. Hopefully the temperature works with us too, but so it's been a great partnership.
Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
Nope, thank you, Miss Allison.
And I'd said this the first meeting that we had on this issue, is that if you reach out to the community, I've always found that the community will usually respond. I've been in a lot of communities across the country, stationed with the military. And if there was any water crisis, you went out and said, hey, don't do this, don't do that, slow down on this. And the conservation occurs. So, a lot of times I'm glad we're finally getting out to say, hey, this is what's going on. It's not a huge emergency, but let's pay attention to what we're doing. Okay. So I appreciate all that. Thank you. Anything further?
Thanks.
Mr. Homestead.
Commissioners, Doug Homestead, Facilities Director. I attended BLM's Recreation Summit in the Nugget last Thursday. It's pretty informative. I made a lot of contacts with people I didn't know. I knew names, but not faces. So that was good. It was mainly attended by off-road groups and tourism folks were there about working with BLM in creating more recreation areas in the state. District Court is still set to move August 1st to the new building. I'm doubting it, but maybe. It seems like when you get to the end of a project, everything just slows way down and there's these little punch list stuff that need to get taken care of, but we're hoping that we have the mover set to be here August 1st, so we will be moving in. It might not, all the offices might not be filled in by then. They might still work out of this courtroom and hold court down there. We've had a couple community cleanups at Valley View Cemetery, which I appreciate Cindy Hitchcock for kind of lining these up, and it's been really great seeing the sheriffs with the inmate crew. I think that's a thing that should have been done years ago.
using the inmates. They love being out there. They get good food and drinks and all that. And then also we had Perry's and Sons crew was there for a day, and they made a big, vast difference out there. I think she's planning another one here in a few more weeks, so we look forward to working with that. We filled a few grave sites at Elm Tree this morning. I think it was probably due to that Missouri Flats flooding we had. A couple of the grave sites collapsed, and my guys were out there this morning filling cemetery there. We're busy at the fairgrounds getting it ready for the fair and rodeo. We've had numerous HVAC trouble calls during this heat. Replacing a few units that we didn't plan on doing, but one of them's like 40 years old, and so that's kind of why I'm putting more and more of those in front of you to replace every year. Dressler, I'm excited to hear Dressler Park is Courts project is going to start Friday. They're going to be here to dig the holes and put the mounts in the ground, and then they'll be back in a couple weeks to paint the court. So that project will finally be wrapped up. Any questions?
Questions? Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. And Mr. Olmsted, how are you, sir? We had a couple questions from some residents in Dayton regarding the soccer nets that we have voted on, I believe, last week. How big is that park again, and how much of the area is going to be used by those soccer fields? Do you recall?
That park was taken over by the county, by the HOA, gave it up because they didn't want to maintain it. So it is a county park. And it's for use of the residents, how we kind of see fit. The actual overlay of the park that was presented shows an overlay of a soccer field on that park originally when they built the park.
Right.
It's something we'll have to, talk about, but it's a county park.
No, I get that. I just didn't know how much of the park was being planned to use by soccer fields. That's all. I'm not questioning any of that. I was just curious.
I think they plan on one or two fields, I think. Here,
And it's like a 3.5 acre park, is that right?
yeah, I think so.
All right.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So that park was actually originally designed in to be a soccer field, and if you look at the PUD handbook for the development, it shows that park as a soccer field. About half, maybe 2/3 of the grass will be used for that. It did used to have soccer goals and a field there in the past. If you look on Google Earth, it shows the nets and the lines and everything on that. So I just wanted to clarify and bring that up. I mean, we're really putting soccer goals back there. So they can be used for.
Thank you.
For that.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to add a little bit to this because I can throw a rock and hit the park that we're talking about. Yeah, there did used to be soccer fields there when we first moved in there. Back when we had the recession and we had to cut back on everything, we basically browned out the park. And the county actually offered the park back to the HOA at that time. And the HOA said, no, thank you. So it is a county park. So it's got to be available for use by all residents of the county. And, I understand the concern with increased traffic and increased noise, but I would much rather hear the kids playing soccer than have them out breaking in cars.
Also, those goals are on wheels. They move the goals. They won't be set up there all the time. They'll be probably pulled off field when they're done for use. Anything else?
Anything further? Okay, thank you, Mr. Homestead.
Thank you.
And Mr. Holman, Road Department.
Good morning, Dustin Holman, Road Director for the record. Just wanted to update you on a few things that we have going on and that's been happening. As most of you are probably aware, the day before yesterday, we noticed that we had some bullet holes in our new stop signs out at corner of Miller and Iancey Lane. 2 holes in the sign, 1 through the solar panel. We replaced the solar panel yesterday. The sign is still currently operational. Luckily, it's an $1,800 sign. There was some cost to the solar panel. We had an extra solar panel in our yard, so we'll get the holes patched up on the sign. We're gonna continue to use that sign. Just gonna keep the moisture and everything out of it. We did have some minor flash flooding in the south part of the county out of these last few thunderstorms that we've received, that we had to go out and do some minor work to roads. Luckily, nothing like we had last year. Other than that, we've just been blading roads, doing shouldering work on roads, patching potholes. A lot of culvert replacements this year, which kind of expected. 40-year-old culverts that all of them saw a lot of water last year, water again this year. So those old metal, corrugated metal culverts just have seen their useful life. So we've been replacing a lot of culverts this spring and summer. We've been doing weed spraying on the shoulders of roads in between our blade cycles and shouldering and culvert replacements. On the fleet side, it's pretty much business as normal, extremely busy. We have started, since July 1, started looking into ordering the new vehicles for the new budget year. We had quite a few vehicles this year that was approved in the budget that we're starting to work on and getting them ordered. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No? No. Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
Yeah, is that a felony, shooting at signs and destroying that, or is that not enough? What is that? I was curious what the penalty on something like that was.
The sheriff's department says that that's a misdemeanor.
Should be a felony. Okay.
I got a question. What's discharging a firearm out in public without knowing the background or anything else? That's still
Mhm.
just a misdemeanor?
That's a,
And I'm sure it's out a window.
you're responsible for that bullet wherever it lands. If it hits a structure, then we start boosting up the penalties, but there should be big penalties to begin with. All right. And that's as a firearm instructor. Anything further? Thank you, Mr. Holman.
Thank you.
Okay. Community development. Boy, we've got a list of reports today. That's great.
Okay, we're gonna be here a long time.
Lyon County Community Development Director Gavin Henderson for the record. Just wanted to give a brief update. We'll first start with staffing. Our community development admin assistant, we had interviews yesterday. We're in selection process, so that's good news. Had a bunch of good applicants, so that's looking forward. Good moving forward. Code enforcement officer, the application period ended yesterday. So we're currently reviewing applications and we'll be selecting viable candidates. Looking forward to getting that position filled. It'll definitely take a lot of workload off of the rest of the department's plates, and hopefully it could be that person the community can actually reach out and get some answers quicker rather than us having to take them as they come in. We're prioritizing life safety issues at this point, but at this point in time, we're really looking forward to fulfilling that position. Project updates, we have the North Silver Springs Area Drainage Master Plan. That's being finalized. That'll be brought to the board August 1st. So looking forward to that presentation. We're also doing an update to the 2018 drainage guidelines. That update is to the drainage guidelines is to provide additional language to the guidelines to include the use of a hydrologic model, which will be used to the county to provide existing stormwater runoff information to any product located in those area drainage master plan areas. So that'll be good for those larger projects that are wanting to be in those areas, because as in this day and time, those areas that are undeveloped for a reason, right? And usually there's drainage problems are a main prioritization of why those properties aren't being developed. Some metrics for the building and planning department. The planning department, since the June 20th meeting, we accepted 1 final parcel map, 1 temporary use permit, 1 administrative design review, 1 street name request, and 1 conditional use permit. And this time frame included the June 17th and July 15th application submittal deadline periods. And then as far as the building department, inspections performed, we had 608 inspections performed since the June 20th meeting. And then we also processed 121 new building permits since the June 20th. That's about that.
Questions? Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What final map did you approve?
This is not an approval, this is just a receipt.
Okay,
Yeah, and I don't want to say the name because.
that's fine. It's just when you do approve a final map, we like to know
Okay.
which ones they are.
Okay.
Anything? I don't, Commissioner Jacobson?
No,
Nothing?
sir.
All right, thank you. Next. All right. It looks like nobody else is running up here. I'm going to call for a 10-minute break, so we're going to go till 10:15, come back. So we'll adjourn till 10:15. We are going to reconvene. I knew that would get him back. And 6C, time certain at 10 a.m. We are 10:15, so for presentation only, a report to be given for the Community Development Block Grant opening for applications for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
Good morning, Erin Lopez for the record. Annually we come about, and this is the time of year when we announce that we are opening the Community Development Grant open cycle for the 25-26 fiscal year program. The program provides communities with opportunities for resources to address development needs within the low to moderate income areas. So the important part to note of that is if there is a project you want to work on, we would first have to identify that area falls under that criteria. So what we would then need to do is also look if it also falls along the guidelines of what the grant actually supports, which would be projects that would include public works, ADA sidewalks, curbs, ramps, historic restoration, and park and access ramp replacements. So basically what they're looking for is how can we support our communities with development or those in low to moderate income areas. We want to look at those projects. Also, what this program likes to see is if you have funding that supports other funding. So if you have another grant that you can put your money together and collaborate these projects. So they like to see it as a source to support another program, and they like to see if you have a program coming about, is this a step to another step? So they want to support it, but they don't want to be solely supporting that. It's clear as mud, but so they want to be a supportive part of your process. The annual approximate funding amount is $3 million. So it's really competitive with all the counties within the state of Nevada. So we have to make sure that we meet all this criteria and then really demonstrate how this will impact and improve the community. Since 1982, the Lyon County has received over $6 million. Recent award projects are the Walk River Economic Study, a Healthy Community Silver Springs Food Pantry, and the Silver Springs Mutual Water Valve replacements. We just closed that one out this year. And the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners will hear presentations of potential applications at their August 15th meeting. If those applications pass eligibility, the commissioners will rank them at their November 21st meeting. 2 applications can come from Lyon County, 2 applications can come from other entities that are looking to apply. So we would work together in tandem with them to help them in the application process. Written comments may be directed to myself at the Lyon County Manager's office. My email information, phone number, everything is on that report. So, and including the application process handbook. So any questions for me, or and also if you could open up to public comment at some point. Thank you.
Commissioner Keller?
Thank you, Aaron. Along the way, do you combine them, or is that later when we hear them? If some of them are going for the same thing, Lyon County in the past did a pipe mapping, and they tied in with Silver Springs, so there wasn't competitive between the two, and it made for a better project. Do they do that now, or is that something we do later? Or
It could be possible.
I don't know if any are like that. I wanted to know
Not
how
really
they do
I
that.
looked on, but I think it could be possible.
So I just wanted to know the procedure. If we
Yeah,
do,
so if you already have another working project and another community, part of that community would want to work with you, I believe that you could work together on that. But we would have to then decide who is going to be supporting that. Is that going to be a Lyon County application or an outside entity? Because either way, we're going to be working together.
right, and would you guys do that in the preliminary before it came to us, right? Possibility, I mean, so we don't have to work it out in this part. I think some thought should go into it if it happens, so.
Yeah, yeah, we would do a planning process. Obviously, Andrew and Josh could help me make some decisions on that part and how we want to push forward with that application. Also depends on how many applications we get.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Aaron, thank you for this. Did you say that projected funding is approximately 3 million or 3,000?
That was a typo on my part, and thank you for pointing that out. I was reading that when I was looking at that, and I meant to put 3 million in there, not 3,000, so.
I was wondering how some of those totals got to 6,343,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
Anything further? All right. Thank you.
Just go public comment, please. Thank
Number 11, advisory board reports. I know we
Excuse
have-
me, we have to do public comment on that one.
Oh, presentation only. Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Good. Not taking any action, but if anybody has anything to say it now. Nobody online, nobody in here. Then let's move on to 11. Advisory board reports. We did have one written report. Yes. Commissioner Keller.
If nobody, well, I see you have a hand up from someone. I'll talk afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is Cash.
Hey, Melinda Cash, can you hear me?
Barely.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's wrong with it. I've got it all set to do. Okay. In answer to your question earlier about the number of people attending, that is always printed on our minutes every month. We list the number of attendees. Can you hear me okay now?
Just barely.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know how to correct this problem. Okay, I'm just gonna keep trying to yell. Hopefully you can hear me. Anyhow, so at our last board meeting that I sent you a transmittal for, we had 38 people, 38 attendees that signed in. That included our board. In addition, just kind of a count by one of our board members thought there was at least 50 people that attended. However, not everybody signs in. Were you able to hear that?
Correct. We heard that not everybody signed in, and that's
Okay, that we had at least 38 people that did sign in.
right.
Okay, perfect. So I did do a letter of transmittal for you, kind of outlining what people were speaking about. The most common item mentioned by members of the public was the request for a reduction in speed limits, followed by a signal light, followed by a pedestrian crossing. Of concern of mine particularly, and I noted this in my letter of transmittal, was because Commissioner Keller spoke to oppose the reduction in speed limit. Now NDOT is assuming all commissioners are opposed doing anything for Mound House. Somehow that, if that's not the case, somehow that needs to be addressed to NDOT. Because right now everything is being held up because we had one commissioner speak in opposition to reducing the speed limit. This is something that's needed by this community. This is something that we've been asking for years. I don't know how to overcome that. I'm not your voice in that regards to NDOT. So I don't know how the commissioners are going to handle that. Also, I attended the Campos meeting. As Commissioner Henderson stated, they did pass phase one. Phase one just basically is recommendations based upon their statistics of what they would recommend to NDOT and the city of Carson City and Lyon County, what should be done along this corridor, which is from the 580 to the 341 turnoff. In that report, one thing they did have is that the most pedestrian deaths occurred in Mount.
If you could flip it to the advisory report for your committee.
I'm sorry, what's that?
If you could just maintain the report for the advisory board.
Oh, all right. Okay. I guess I don't really have anything else to add then. I felt the best way to give you the information would be to prepare a letter of transmittal so that you did see, you know, the public comments.
So is that concluding your report then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Keller.
So I was looking at the letter of transmittal and that had me a little bit of a concern. It's recommended, if for one thing, it's a non-action presentation only. So if it's non-action, if I read that in the agenda, then that doesn't necessarily that I would have input on a non-action item. And yet we get a list of, looks like they conducted some sort of survey, which people that didn't attend weren't able to attend because it wasn't agendized right. And then looking at the end of it, where you start going into opinion by whoever wrote this article and it wasn't a vote of the board. I have concerns over how they're doing this letter of transmittals to us. And this isn't their opinion, it's a board. It's a vote of the board. And I want to know what their board says. And I want to know that it was agendized right. And so I want to get back on the right track here, not people's opinion. That just one opinion that wrote this transmittal.
Anything further? No. And Commissioner Jacobson, anything further on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you then. Any further reports? And we will move on to item 12, consent agenda. Action will be taken on all items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. So we have items 12A through 12Q. I have a request from commissioners to pull any items. Do I have any requests from the public to pull any items? Seeing none for those two, then I will look for a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda 12A through 12Q.
Okay,
Second.
so I have a motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have a 5-0 on that vote. So we can move on a couple of pages. Get to the regular agenda. Item 13A, for possible action, accept grant awards from the U.S. Department of Energy, State and Community Energy Programs in the amount of $76,190 for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program. Mr. Homestead.
Doug Homestead, Facility Director for the record. We applied for this grant. There was $76,190 allotted available for Lyon County. We got that whole amount. Thanks to Shayla Holmes. Where'd you sneak out? She's very good at grant writing. I looked at that application and was bewildered. And she said, oh, it's nothing to it. So she went through and filled it all out for us, and we just got notification we were awarded that. The only problem we have with it is, what it's to do is to, make a couple of our buildings more energy efficient, a couple of our other buildings. One is, the extension building down on Main Street. It's an old, used to be an old church school. And, we're gonna replace the windows and the HVAC unit there to make it more energy conscious. And, also the senior center, their HVAC units are very old and we want to replace them. But we found out anything over $2,000 with this grant is considered Davis-Bacon Act. So I have to go back out and get new prices. So it's gonna push the prices way up. It was at 90, we originally were about $95,000. And so I'm guessing it's gonna go over 100,000. So we might scale back the project or see if we have money in contingency to pay for it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Commissioner Henderson.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for that clarification, because I was scratching my head saying, $76,190 and we're gonna do all this for that. Yeah, but now that you clarified it, I'm good.
Anything further? Okay. Yeah. Any input from the public? Commissioner Jacobson, you have an input?
Yeah, Chairman Hockaday, just thank you, Mr. Homestead, and Shayla, you are truly wonderful for helping out and getting this stuff. So nice teamwork, team.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Good comment. All right. So no other comments, then we'll look for a motion on 13A.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept grant award from the U.S. Department of Energy, State and Community Energy Programs in the amount of $76,190 for the Energy Efficient and Conservation Block Grant Program.
Have a second? All right, then I'll second it. So motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to 14 for utilities. This is utilities for presentation only, a presentation from the wastewater superintendent on the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection Inspection Report of the Rolling A wastewater treatment plant.
Chair Hockaday, Commissioner. Thank you for having me. Stephanie Kappenstein for record. Oh, you have. What's up? Yes, please. And are you able to adjust and move through the presentation? Okay. Okay, so thank you for letting me come before you today and share some of our operational issues that we've been facing at the Rolling A wastewater treatment plant in Dayton. Throughout this presentation, I'll refer to a couple different tables and figures that's going to be shown on the screen from our compliance inspection report. To begin, I'd like to give a general overview of the regulatory oversight for wastewater treatment facilities. Here in Nevada, the Bureau of Water Pollution Control, a division of NDEP, protects waters of the state from discharges of pollutants. Discharges to waters of the state are regulated through permits issued by the Bureau. Besides permitting, the Bureau enforces the state's water pollution control regulations, inspects regulated facilities, reviews discharge monitoring reports, conducts investigations with regards to spill reports, and issues enforcement action when necessary. Can you go to page 2, please? The Rolling A wastewater treatment facility is permitted under a groundwater discharge permit issued by the Bureau. The page on the screen identifies all of our monitoring locations that is identified in our current facility permit. On January 3rd, 2024, the Rolling A plant, basin number 3, suffered a critical aeration failure. Proper aeration and mixing is critical for efficient treatment in a biological treatment plant. This aeration failure meant that the basin would quickly stop treating the incoming waste as the aerobic bacteria died off. If you could go to page 21. I apologize, we're going to be all over this report by the time we're done here. So figure 7 on the top of this page shows an SBR basin and the aeration grid. The only way to access the aeration grid is to take a basin out of service, empty the basin, and repair the aeration lines inside that tank. So on January 3rd, basin 3 was taken offline. On January 11th, when we finally got all the repairs made in basin 3, we was able to put it back into service. Unfortunately, that same day that we brought basin 3 online, treatment basin number 5 also had to be taken out of service because of an aeration crack. So on January 24th, we finally got basin 5 back into service. So between January 3rd and January 24th, we had 2 basins that we had to take down, clean out, repair, and then get back on it. While basin 3 and 5 was offline, the incoming wastewater flow was diverted away from those basins and to the remaining online basins. This extra flow caused the working basins to be overloaded with influent flow. The effluent quality dropped, and Lyon County notified the Bureau of multiple total suspended solids, total nitrogen, and fecal coliform exceedances. Could you go to page 18? So as you can see from figures 1 and 2 on this screen, the basins have a dark foamy surface. This is not normal and is a result of the treatment process becoming upset. Since the aeration failures occurred during cold weather, we did expect that the recovery process would take longer than normal. What we didn't expect was that the treatment plant would remain upset for months. Page 11, please. So in April, Lyon County received a notice of determination from the Bureau. This notice of determination requested a compliance plan to address the aeration failures and exceedances that occurred in 2023 and early 2024. So on the screen, any non-compliance events during 2023 and 2024 are highlighted in red. On April 10th, Mark Kaminsky and Ben Cahu with the Bureau conducted a facility compliance inspection of the Rolling A treatment plant. The report shown on the screen is from this inspection. On the date of the inspection, the Rolling A plant was still struggling to recover from the January upset. This inspection gave the Bureau an opportunity to observe the plant with the issues that we were still having ongoing at the treatment plant. During the inspection, the Bureau walked the facility and also collected effluent samples. Can you go to page 8, please? The Bureau identified 4 findings that required a response by Lyon County Utilities. Shown here on page 8 are the first 2 findings. For finding number 1, the Bureau had identified that the Rolling A treatment plant had reported greater than 10% exceedance rate for total suspended solids, total nitrogen, and fecal coliform. In response to finding number 1, Lyon County Utilities has submitted a compliance plan to the division. This compliance plan details the steps that Lyon County Utilities is taking to improve and correct current facility issues by analyzing the influent wastewater characteristics. Lyon County Utilities has developed a sampling schedule to have influent wastewater analyzed for additional parameters above those that are required in our current facility permit. This additional sampling is scheduled to last 3 months, with the final sample to be collected in August. This analysis will help us identify any changes to the influent since it was last evaluated in depth in 2020. We will continue to work with the Bureau as we complete the influent sampling and analyze the data. For finding number 2, the inspection report noted that 2 of the groundwater monitoring wells located at the Rolling A facility had a total nitrogen level of greater than 10 milligrams per liter when the results were averaged over the last 5 quarters. These two monitoring wells are located near the old Rolling A sludge lagoon, which was abandoned and cleaned out in 2020. The abandoned sludge lagoon was demolished in late 2023 as part of the Rolling A Phase 4 expansion. We will continue to monitor these monitoring wells as indicated quarterly in our facility permit. With the removal of the sludge lagoon, we should see the total nitrogen levels drop in these monitoring wells if the sludge lagoon was the source of the increased nitrogen. Can you go to the next page, please? Finding number 3 noted a failure to submit a DMR. The finding notes that the fourth quarter DMR shall contain plots of concentration versus date for each analyzed constituent identified in the table. The plots shall include data for the preceding 5 years. So in response to this finding, Lyon County Utilities addressed paragraph 2 of section C.1.2 in our permit, which states that once reporting through the Nevada Net DMR system has been performed for a continuous 5-year period, annual plots are no longer required. In our response, we noted that Lyon County has used the Net DMR system continuously for over 5 years, and that our interpretation of paragraph 2 eliminated the need to submit this data requested in paragraph 1. If our interpretation of this is incorrect, we will submit the data upon request from the state. In finding number 4, it noted that scum and turbidity was observed in all of our effluent holding ponds and online infiltration basins. If you can go to page 25. So as shown on figure 15 and 16 on the screen, the Aspen Creek ribs accumulated scum and turbidity due to the treatment plant becoming upset. Due to poor settling in the treatment basins and excess foam, solids was carried out of the plant and to our effluent basins. To help reduce the solids concentration in the treatment basins, we have increased our dewatering schedule and increased additional loads to the landfill. Scum and foam was removed from the top of the treatment basins, from the chlorine contact chamber, and from our effluent storage basin at the plant. Scum and turbidity, which had accumulated in the Aspen Creek infiltration basins, has been removed by allowing these basins to dry out and then scraping the solids off the top. We have included these corrective actions in our response to the Bureau. So while the past year has been a struggle for us operationally, we do see a light at the end of the tunnel. The Rolling A Phase 4 expansion project is currently underway, and while it will provide an increased treatment capacity, it will also improve existing plant performance. So I'm going to take just a couple minutes and share a few of the improvements that Phase 4 is bringing and how these changes will help our plant. Can you go to page 23? So as shown on figure 11 on the top of the screen here, the new emergency pond has been constructed at the Rolling A facility. This lined emergency pond will provide operators additional controls to include the ability to divert up to 1 full day of influent flow to this basin. This option will allow for toxic waste streams, if it's identified, to be able to be diverted to this pond to keep it from entering the rest of the treatment basins. It will also allow for us to conduct maintenance on the other basins by diverting all of the contents of a basin into this emergency pond. The bottom figure 12, is pictures of our new large treatment basins that are under construction now at the Rolling A plant. With these 2 new large basins, we'll get additional hydraulic capacity at the plant. If our influent testing shows that we are closer to our organic loading capacity than we had previously thought, these new SBRs will also provide organic loading capacity as well. So we're ready for these, or sure, I'll give an update later, but when these go online, they should help give us that extra capacity we need, both hydraulically and organically. Page 21, please. So on the bottom picture here, you can see our small existing digesters. They're very narrow. So another improvement with the coming Phase 4 project is new larger digesters. Our existing digesters are small and only provide for about 4 days of retention. When these digesters fill up, an overflow pipe allows the solids that have been pumped into these digesters to return to the head of the plant and then go back into the basins which the solids were pumped from, which makes managing our solids content very difficult. The new digesters will provide for about 19 days of retention, which will allow us to better manage our solids. Another improvement to this project is the addition of an influent EQ basin and equalization basin. Extreme fluctuations between peak flows during the day, and nighttime lows cause uneven feeding of our basins throughout the day. The new influent EQ basin will allow the peak flows to be evened out, stored, and then slowly fed into the plant during the low levels. We expect to see the basins operate better when we are able to level out the flow throughout the day. Page 22, please. This project also included a second dewatering press, which has been installed. The second dewatering press allows for redundancy. Prior to this project, we had only one single press that ran 6 days a week. Whenever the press was down for repairs, the solids backed up into the plant. This redundant press not only allows for continuous operation, but also allows for us to run 2 presses if we get behind on solids. So, before I go, I want to share just a few things we're doing to help us get through between now and when phase 4 is completed. So we've seen our facility struggle in the colder months. It does really great when the weather's warm. It loves this 100-degree weather. Well, we don't. The plant actually loves it. So Rolling A has 2 small basins. They were taken offline due to equipment and operational issues. While we know operating these basins will bring their own set of issues, we feel that the small amount, about 100,000 gallons of capacity that they will bring will help us maybe get through this winter, the extra little capacity, and then get us through until the new big basins are online. Our goal is to have these 2 small basins online next month, so we have some time to complete any repairs, any issues with the equipment, and then fine tune the flow distribution before cold weather sets in. If we find that it doesn't provide us as much improvement as we hope, we also have the ability to bring our South Dayton wastewater plant back online. It was taken offline as well. It's old and has some equipment issues. It was operating that when we took it offline in July. So, and it's still permitted through our current facility permit. So if needed, we could put at least 40,000 gallons to possibly 80,000 gallons of flow through this plant. So this time, I'd like to thank you. I know I hit a lot and ran all over the inspection report.
I just have a comment. First of all, I want to commend you on your ability to work through the slides and present this item. And I mean, it's a tough item, but I got to be able to understand it. And it's interesting to me that what you presented, it just amazes me that you did such a good job. So I just wanted to commend you on that.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions. And going back to the failures with the aeration lines,
Yes.
do you have any kind of preventative maintenance schedule for those? Or do you just leave them run until they break?
So unfortunately, we don't have a spare basin. So if you take a basin offline, it reduces the capacity of the plant. So currently we don't, but with the new emergency pond that's part of phase 4, we will be able to move the contents of a basin to that emergency pond, do repairs. So we will be able to add.
Well, I'm not necessarily interested in repairs. I'm interested in preventative maintenance to keep repairs from being necessary.
So we can't, since we can't take a basin down, but we will in the future be able to take a basin down and then clean those diffusers and check on them. So, and then do checks of those aeration skids under the water.
Okay, and then I have just a comment on the findings. You know, 1, 2, and 3, I understand that's all technical and stuff happens. 3, I appreciate your explanation, because I was a little upset about this. Why did we miss a report? You know, but I hope your interpretation is correct. But then why wouldn't we send the information in to the state anyway? Because they have experts that can help us. They might notice something we might miss.
Through our net DMR process, they receive all that data that would be reported in that extra data. So they can grab all that through the net DMRs.
Right. Like I said, I just hope your interpretation is correct. If it's not, we might have further conversations on that.
Right.
Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, and I also noted, you know, in your conclusions that we did not submit the required annual report. And that caught my mind that we didn't do something we're supposed to do. Obviously, we've got that explained. And a lot of these other things, when you're catching on your conclusions where we're at a tolerance on just about everything, that's of concern. The one question I have on equipment is you have the narrow digester, and you said, oh, we're going to have a bigger digester. How do we go about building a a broader digester? What's the plan for that?
So they're actually gonna repurpose two of our existing, so that those really small basins that we're gonna bring online,
Mhm.
they're gonna repurpose those into digesters. So they're gonna strip all the guts out of them and then rebuild.
All right, so you've got a plan on that. I appreciate that. Anything further? Here. Presentation only, so thank you very much. We'll go on to 14B for presentation only, a project update from the utilities engineer, Mr. Kishore.
Good morning, Kishore Panda, utilities engineer for the record. I'll give a status update of all the capital and engineering projects for the second quarter of 2024. Password, yeah. Okay, here is a summary of all the projects right now. These are all major projects within the department. So recently board approved these first two projects, which are engineering studies happening in Silver Spring GID treatment plant. The first one is an engineering study related to the effluent management, and the second one is related to how we are going to dewater the sloughs that we have almost full in those two storage ponds in the same plant. We have one project in the design, which is Highway 50 Dayton Valley Road CO replacement phase 2 project. We have 3 projects in construction. The third one, which was in the design, that is Smoky Hills Watermain replacement. It was in design, so right now it's moved to the construction. So we are ready to roll for the construction starting next week. We didn't finish any project in the last quarter. Next, I'll give a brief highlight of some of the projects. I'll not go through more detail on that. Next slide, please. So, as I said, this is for the Silver Spring GID effluent disposal. They're going to look at some of the treatment, rehab activities, as well as how to dispose the effluent to any land site for ground infiltration. At the end, they're going to submit a report on that. And this project is funded by the ARPA fund approved by the board for this project. Next one. Next one is going to be an alternative analysis between dewatering by a contractor, one-time activity, versus whether it's cost feasible study or it's a good for the operations to build a facility based on geosynthetic dewatering process to continuously dewater sloughs from this plant. So this finding probably lead us to a determination which route we are going to take. Next one. This is the Highway 50 sewer phase 2 project. This is going as per the schedule. We finished the 50% design review in May. We are getting 90% design in August, and as we plan to start the construction in January 2025, there's a typo here. So we are on schedule for this project. Next one. This is an ongoing construction project over 2 years period, rolling a plant phase 4 expansion. I'm glad that Stephanie presented some of the details. So its project has its own complexity. One important thing I want to say is that this project is getting delayed by at least 3 months to max of 5 months. We are working with contractor to find out how we can reduce that. But the biggest impact of this delay is to Stephanie's operation. As she said, winter is not a good month for these biological processes because with the drop in water temperature, the process efficiency drops. And we are kind of on the edge of the capacity running at this point. Initially, we had a plan to commission the new plant sometime in October, November. So with this delay, so we have to somehow manage the existing treatment within the existing facilities during the winter. So with all these complaints or situations happening, somehow we are planning how we can overcome this winter so that by the next winter, we'll have the next new plan. So that is one of the biggest impact we'll have due to the delay in the project construction. Next one. Silver Spring GID, next place. So this is a small project with a supplier that we are going to replace all the aeration chains and aeration system components, plus the blowers. So this is as per our plan. We are getting the shipment for all the equipment by this next month. And week after that, we'll schedule for a construction, which is a couple of weeks. So hopefully by the end of summer, we'll have some construction for this project. Next one. This project, we moved to the design. It is recently board approved a contractor we selected for the construction. We have all the preliminary planning done before we start issuing the NTP for next week. So with everything going okay, so we start running the construction starting next week. This is a 4 to 6 weeks period construction. Hopefully by October, we'll wrap up this construction. So this is a great improvement we bring to that high pressure water zone. And hopefully things will improve operationally after this project. That's basically the goal of this project, to improve the current high pressure happening in that pressure zone. And also it will open up some of the new developments to get connected to that water. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Good. Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, and thank you, Pasha. Appreciate your updates. Just 2 questions on the Highway 50 sewer line replacement. I notice it says that the 90% design review is likely to be delayed. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, we have a trailer park next to Highway 50 that line is going through. So the 90% design, we need to identify some of the existing pipelines. There's a AT&T line, other gas lines. So we need to do potholing to confirm some of the things before we complete the 90% design. Unfortunately, to access some of the locations in that route, we need to have access to that creek side where one of the trailer is sitting on that spot. And there are some other things connected to that paperwork, getting state approval because there is a no title we found. We didn't find the owner of that. So there's a process we are doing with the state. Once we get the title, we already have a contractor. So as soon as we get the paperwork from the state, we can go and demo that trailer. Until and unless we demo that, we cannot have access to the potholing. Without potholing, we cannot give the info to the engineer to complete the 90%.
And that's the trailer that we agreed to demolish as part of the right-of-way agreement?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then, and this is more just a comment than a question, but on the Silver Springs GID aeration improvements, the description bothers me again, because it says, has been experienced mechanical component failures after due to aging and lack of maintenance. We got to do preventative maintenance. That's why it's called preventative maintenance. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any further? No. Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
Well, I'm with, thank you, Chairman Hockaday. I'm with Chairman, Councilman Henderson on that, but also, or Commissioner Henderson, but I do appreciate the honesty in the report about that lack of maintenance, but we've had that discussion before as well. And that is a tough one to swallow. And then just as a comment, you'd think maybe, I don't know if there are any grants out there, but anytime we're replacing asbestos type pipes and stuff, I'm just curious if there are any grants we could go after. But I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Good report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we'll move on to 15. Human Services, 15A for possible action, accept a grant award from Meals on Wheels Loves Pets for the Happy Tales of Lyon County program in the amount of $12,000 with no match, and authorize Shayla Holmes to electronically accept the terms and conditions. Dr. Holmes.
Good morning, Dr. Holmes, the Human Services Director for the record. We're really excited about the Meals on Wheels Happy Tales program. What this allows us to do is have food and needed pet supplies delivered directly to the doors of our homebound seniors. We know that our homebound seniors are the most isolated, and typically their pets are the only comfort and companionship they have. So taking care of them really helps make sure that their behavioral health and their mental health is staying as good as it possibly can. We have in the past been able to use a little bit of these funds to also ensure that some critical vet access has happened or some grooming takes place if it's hindering the pet's health. It's a small amount, but it goes a long way.
Excellent. Anything, commissioners? Nothing? Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
No, sir. Thank you, Shayla, for doing this.
Yep. All right. Any public comment? Seeing none, then I'll look for a motion on 15A.
Move to accept a grant award from Meals on Wheels Loves Pets for Happy Trails of Lyon County program in the amount of $12,000 with no match, and authorize Shayla Holmes to electronically accept the terms and conditions.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Going to 15B for possible action, approve contract between Lyon County and National Alliance on Mental Illness of Western Nevada in an amount not to exceed $43,940 to provide peer support services with the newly created trauma-focused therapy program.
Again, Shayla Holmes for the record. I believe it was at the last meeting in June, you approved the grant award from the Division of Child and Family Services for cognitive behavioral health therapy for children and families. This is a prevention program to prevent families from entering the Division of Child and Welfare Services. A part of the research base, and it's very similar to what we had asked for within our reentry program when we shared that the last time when you were approved that as well, is having a peer who's navigated the behavioral health system and has worked a program tied to these services goes a long way. So you have the therapist going in and doing the therapeutic work, and then you have the peer that meets with the family in between that to make sure that anything that the therapist has said, we need to work on this, here's what we need to do, here's what you need to access, and then the peer helps make sure that that happens. NAMI is one of the leading agencies in the area for peer support specialists. It is an official title and in NRS, so they are certified, and we are looking forward to partnering with them.
Okay, questions? Questions? Public comment? If not, I'll look for a motion on 15B.
I'll move to approve a contract between Lyon County and National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, or NAMI, of Western Nevada in the amount not to exceed $43,940 to provide peer support services with the newly created trauma-focused therapy program.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Have a motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Didn't they get public? And I thought I said public. What? Do I have a public comment? Seeing none, then we have a motion 5-0. I'm sorry if I didn't say that. It just seemed like it popped through my mouth, but obviously it might not have.
But didn't pop in my ear.
It didn't pop in your ear. Okay, we're going to 15C for possible action. Approve a contract between Lyon County and Healthy Communities Coalition not to exceed $104,262 for services funded through the fiscal year 25 Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Grant from State of Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy. Go ahead.
Again, Shayla Holmes for the record. This contract is to have Healthy Communities Coalition expand what they currently do for our forensic assessment triage team, which is the reentry services in the jail. You guys approved, I believe at the last meeting in June, the grant award to tie peers upon reentry to ensure that individuals are getting connected to all of those services. Healthy Communities Coalition currently does work with us within the jail, so it made sense for those same individuals to work with folks outside of the jail and follow them through. So this is that contract to get that program or expansion of that program started.
Okay. Questions? Public input? No public input that I see. Look for a motion on 15C. Feel like the dentist here pulling teeth. Go ahead.
I'll move to approve a contract between Lyon County and Healthy Communities Coalition not to exceed $104,262 for services funded through fiscal year 25 Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Grant from the State of Nevada Department of Sentencing Policy.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes 5-0. County Manager, up in front, please. Go to 16A for possible action. Approve a proclamation of the Lyon County Board of Commissioners changing the name of our park located at 215 Lincoln Highway, Dayton, Nevada to K. Winters Park with an estimated cost of $2,500 for updated signs and a dedication plaque to be funded from a budget transfer from the general fund contingency. Sir?
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So this proclamation was brought forward by Commissioner Keller. Kay Winters recently passed away. She was very instrumental in getting our park created, and same as with Dayton State Park, and she was very involved in the community. So this proclamation would change the name of our park in Dayton to the Kay Winters Park. The cost there is estimated to be $2,500. That would be to replace 2 signs and to also create a plaque dedicating the park, similar to what was done with the Kent Harvey Canal in Silver Springs. So with that, I turn it over. I don't know if Commissioner Keller has anything else to add.
No, I think you pretty much said it. I've been working with parks for about a decade and a half. And I understand the need for parks. We're going to have another item here later about our sheriffs. And this is one of the things that helps us out is by keeping people activities and children and everything else and family oriented things is just so important. And she knew that from a long time ago and she fought for it. And so that's all I have.
Okay. I'll start with Commissioner Hendricks.
Yeah, I am all for naming a park after her. Her contribution was amazing. I have received a lot of comment from people not wanting to change the name of this particular park. And my only comment is if maybe we could put it before the Dayton Advisory Board to make sure that this is the park that they would like to name after her.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Hockaday. First thing I want to do is thank Commissioner Keller for bringing this forward. Yeah, I'm kind of, when I saw it, I go, well, why didn't I do that? You know, so thank you, Commissioner. I really appreciate that. Kay was a remarkable woman. Yeah, I live on her former ranch. You know, and up until the last few years, I would take her a bouquet of flowers every Christmas and her birthday every year. So I knew the woman quite well. I do have a question, and I do share some of the concerns of Commissioner Hendricks. I've got some of the same comments as well, but do we actually own the land that our park is on?
Andrew Haskell, Lyon County Manager. So I believe we own part of it, but it is within the NDOT right of way. So that was part of how she was instrumental in getting our park created. She went and lobbied to get that, get it so that NDOT could let us use that land.
And so there's a possibility that in the future, portions of our park will be a highway or paved.
Yeah, could be.
It's just because I agree that we should name something after Kay. You know, the Santa Maria Park might be a better option because that is on her family's land, but that's just my comment.
Commissioner Keller.
I just wanted to follow up. One is this park is actually something that she touched, right? So to me, it's like, this is very important because this is a thing that she fought for. And then also the visibility of, we've looked at the other parks and some of the other parks don't have the visibility as this one does. And I think that's why this one makes so much sense. It's out there in front of the public. It's not hidden away in a neighborhood. It's out there. And so that's why I wanted it to be here. As far as going back to the advisory boards, I'm not against that, but I don't see the purpose of doing that we've got it on agenda and we can talk about it here. So that's where I stand on that. So.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree with the visibility of it. I thought about that too. Of course, once we get the soccer fields up and running in Santa Maria Park, there'll be a lot more people to see it, but I'll support this either way.
Anything further? So Commissioner Keller, how would you like to handle this? Because I can go either way.
Well, I would like to also get some public comment so that we can hear a little bit more.
Okay. So we will look at public comment now. We've had commissioner comment. If you want to have a comment, I see
The sailors.
the sailors with their hand kind of going up, so we'll unmute. Yeah, we see you. We're just gonna unmute you. And go ahead. I think you may be able to talk now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Johnny Saylor. And as far as naming another park after Kay Winters, she had absolutely nothing to do with the Santa Maria Park other than at one time owning the property. Our park was her special park. Her daughter told me that when they would have company from out of town, she would take them to that park, our park, because she was so proud of it. I did speak with several members of the family, and they spoke with the rest of the members of the family, and they are all thrilled. And they also said, and I have heard that from some people, that this is not what Kay Winters would have wanted. Her family said she would absolutely be thrilled to have our park named after her.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobs, I didn't see anything. Didn't see your hand. You're good. Okay.
No, I appreciate that feedback from Miss Saylor though, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see anything further for comments. Do we have any public comment in here? Well, Stephen, have a comment?
You're on mute.
Yeah. There you go. You're unmuted now. Go ahead.
All right, gentlemen. Yes, Kay Winters, as we all know, is an amazing woman. And besides our park, she was a huge part of the Dayton community. And as Johnny mentioned, she's talked with the family. They're also honored and thrilled to have the park named after Kay. And then we're putting together a fundraiser or no?
No.
Okay. Well, we're not doing the fundraiser since you're doing the park name. So anyhow, yeah, I just want to say we totally support the renaming it Kay Winters Park. And that's about all I have to say.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I see Commissioner-elect John Casanelli has his hand up. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Hockaday. I just wanted to also say Kay was obviously a wonderful asset to this community, and she's going to be greatly missed. And I just wanted to speak in favor of the renaming of our park for Mrs. Winters. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sounds like we've got pretty much a push for the agenda item as written. And since Commissioner Keller has his name on this one, we'll let him do his next step. Would you like to do a motion on that?
Yes, I move to approve a proclamation of the Lyon County Board of Commissioners changing the name of our park located at 215 Lincoln Highway, Dayton, Nevada to Kay Winters Park with an estimated cost of $2,500 for updated signs and a dedication plaque to be funded from a budget transfer from the general fund contingency.
Second.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to read
Well,
I'd like Commissioner Keller to read the proclamation
to.
before the vote.
I would love to.
Okay.
This is a proclamation of the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners renaming the park at 215 Lincoln Highway, Dayton, Nevada to the K Winters Park. Whereas Lyon County, Dayton, Nevada resident Kathleen Kelly Winters was personally known to many as K Winters. Whereas Kay Winters was a prominent Western Nevada homemaker and community leader. Whereas in December of 2015, the Lyon County Board of Commissioners proclaimed December 3rd as Kay Winters Day. Whereas the Lyon County Board of Commissioners recognizes that Kay Winters gave a lifetime commitment of improving the community of Dayton, Nevada. Whereas Kay Winters provided years of service with lobbying at the state of Nevada and serving on several boards. Whereas Kay Winters served as a member of the Lyon County Park and Recreation Committee for 12 years, and she was instrumental in helping to establish Dayton parks, one being the Dayton State Park. And whereas our park was created under the diligence and lobbying by Kay Winters as the Dayton Park and Recreation Director, therefore let it be proclaimed by the Lyon County Board of Commissioners that the name of our park located at 215 Lincoln Highway, Dayton, Nevada is now changed to Kay Winters Park.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Keller. 16B for possible action to discuss and provide direction to the county manager in regards to developing a bill draft resolution BDR for the 2025 legislature, which may include discussion on possible topics for BDR, direction to staff to research and come back with information related to possible BDR, and input from the public on possible topics for BDR. The board may direct staff to prepare a resolution, bring back to the board for further consideration. And we do have that list as late backup. So, sir, go ahead.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Yeah, so this is our standing item on bill draft resolution. We are coming down to the end of our time to determine what BDR, if any, to put forward. The BDRs are due in September, so I would need to have something approved by this board by the second meeting in August, which means by the first meeting in August, we kind of need to figure out where we're going with this. I had every intention of including this list earlier, but so I do apologize about that. So this list is the different ideas that we have discussed so far. There was one other idea that was brought forth by Comptroller Foley. However, I did not include it in this list because upon further research, it turned out it had already been changed. So this is what has been discussed up to this point. With that, I'm happy to take notes.
Commissioners, I like them all. They all look like good possible drafts. I would say that whatever we come up with, I would certainly like to keep this list on file because we need to make sure we don't have to reinvent the wheel year after year to come up with new ideas. And if any of these get put into effect in the future, that'd be great too. That's my comment. Any other comments here? Commissioner Keller.
Yeah, I'm just curious of, is there other people working on these same things that we can just support, like NACO or any of those, so that those can. And also I want to comment if Josh wants to go fight for something down at the legislature in his spare time, but I'm all for that.
To be really honest, I'm not 100% sure where Nevada NACO went with their BDRs. I don't know if they finalized anything yet.
They haven't finalized anything, but they're working on things. So maybe with you and Benson, maybe figure out, because we could just add input to that, which we can bring. I said, me and Wes sit on that committee so we can have input, but I think we're looking at some of this stuff already at NACO, which brings a bigger voice to the table.
So I will double check with Vincent and see where where they're at with ideas and what looks like it's gonna move forward. Like I said, we don't have to have a decision today. In fact, we don't expect a decision today, but by the next meeting, we will have to know where.
And if NACO has too many, we can also, and we don't have one, then we can actually help them out by passing it through.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner Keller is right. In fact, the NACO Legislative Committee meets tomorrow.
Okay.
Some of the things they're talking about has to do with public records and public information, such as a BDR to possibly keep the signature on the voter's registration, not be considered public, and a couple other things like that. I'd like to just go through this list real quick and just make a comment, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, the taxing and fee authority for the EV charging stations. I mean, that would be nice, but I do know the state legislature has been working for years trying to figure out a way to make EVs. So that may be something we want to put in just to further the thing. Removing the tax abatements for industrial solar, I certainly support that, but Go Ed would not. We would be having a fight there. GPS navigation company, that's an excellent idea. Public safety, the communication between GPS providers and the emergency manager, that's good also. Actually, all the Taylors are really good. Come up with some good ideas. Funding for fire prevention on BLM lands. You said, would that be state funding or federal? Or do you
think for federal.
I think they're working on some stuff for federal right now, but it might go through the state to get to us. So it's going to be, we still need it.
Right.
One way or the other. So
I agree. And the way the federal government funds firefighting is ridiculous. They don't come out of like a FEMA, they come out of the agency's budget. So they can't spend the money on what they're supposed to be doing. Solar panels on public lands, I think that is a huge issue. And I think NACO is taking a serious look at that as well. And tax state abatements on industrial solar, same thing. We have a Go Ed issue there, I believe. But so I mean, that just because Go Ed doesn't like stuff doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. But that's just my little comments running down the list.
So yeah, I think maybe removing, we might be adjusting the tax abatements. It might be as a matter of what the local authority gets, and there's still state might be removing there. So because we're going to have our own complications to make these things work. So maybe it's a fight that we have just for the local authorities. There was also something on the, I noticed the funding for, we're talking about funding for fire prevention, but back when we were NACO, reimbursement, I don't know what it was, but there's a reimbursement for treating people that aren't transported. And so they're fighting for funding at the national level right now. I can get that information to you. Just the local doesn't get paid unless they're transferred. So they don't get the funding for it. So like if you refuse to, say you're a drug addict, the example they took was if you were a drug addict and the local sheriff happened to give you some Narcan to ruin your great high, then they didn't want to be transported, so no one got paid. But yet we had to pay for the ability to save someone's life. So I'll give you that information.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really a good session on that. Learned a lot about how our emergency responders are losing money in a lot of ways. So anything further on that? We want to push this towards next meeting, I believe. Everybody has a good idea. Commissioner Keller?
Oh, I was just going to suggest public comment.
Well, I'm just saying if we're looking at,
Oh, I see.
yeah, we're not going to take an action on it. Okay, public input. We're not going to take action today on this, but anybody has input, please do it now. Commissioner Jacobson, anything you'd like to say on that?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right. No action will be taken then. We will table it until next time again. We'll go to 16C for possible action, approve a one-year agreement with Lyon County Sheriff's Employees Association effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and eliminate 3 vacant deputy positions. Mr. Foley.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, just to give you the highlights of the changes for this agreement with the Sheriff's Association. It's a 1-year agreement. The percentage increase is 13.5% across the board for all base salaries in the agreement. It adds an additional step 10 to the 3 different pay ranges for the deputy sergeants and lieutenants. It changes the longevity pay language to, instead of upon their anniversary, they get a bonus, a lump sum of 2.5% of their base salary. It changes it so that they get 2.5% of their salary in each paycheck, not a lump sum, but of that paycheck. Upon their anniversary, and that's still upon marriage for that one. It changes so that 12-hour shifts are included in the contract instead of being an MOU on the side that's been for many years that way. It adds SWAT assignment to the special pays where they get $3 an hour while they're performing in that duty. It adds Juneteenth, since that's now an officially recognized state and federal holiday. There's an increase to the max sick leave payout by $2,000 per tier, which matches what is in the other association contract and in the current policy that was adopted for July 1st for the regular association or for the regular employees. It changes the dependent care insurance from 30% to 50%, which has been our practice, and also what is in the other association contract currently. And they did ask to change the uniform pay, which is quarterly, the timing of the payment at the end of the year from December. They want that paid in January, first paycheck in January instead of the last paycheck in December. So it's now consistent. It's paid the first pay period of every quarter based on that change. In addition to that, to help fund the fiscal costs on this, there's discussion on reducing 3 vacant deputy positions that have never been filled. Some of them were created as the sheriff gave up some other positions, we did reorganizations and things like that. And so these are positions that have never been filled, in hopes that with the changes to the agreement, that we can actually fill the 8 vacant positions approximately that we have now. It would drop them down to, I believe, 5 or so, to give you an idea. Total estimated cost of the contract, approximately $13,650,000 is what the total annual cost would be for this fiscal year. We have budgeted for some of that. What we have not budgeted for are, we've budgeted for the vacant positions. So when the board eliminates those vacant positions, it's going to fund $380,371 of this if the board approves it. There will be $376,268 that is not funded in the budget. And so that would require either vacancies in the department, savings in the department budget through vacancies and other means, and or contingency. I would recommend to the board that we authorize contingency. If there's vacancy, we don't use all the contingency that's allocated, but that would be my recommendation at this point with this. And I am open to any questions you may have on this contract.
Questions? Questions? Go ahead.
So I'm looking at our overall budget and how big is this on our budget? A percentage would you estimate it as?
I would say we're close to probably 15 to 20% of our total budget for the general fund.
I just want the public to know how much we put into these areas.
And this is just salary and benefits for the share for the contract. It doesn't include all the other costs of law.
So the whole sheriff's department, what would that relate
Probably
to?
closer to 30-35%.
Quite
Maybe
an,
closer to 50. I'd have to, don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to check.
about a big portion. I just, as we move forward through this stuff, my feeling is that it's a quality of life that we have. We have to have a good sheriff's department. We have to uphold the law. But at the same time, we have to promote other things for recreation and mental illness, Title 15 codes and code enforcement. ordinances that might eliminate the need to have so much into the sheriff's department, but that's all I have to say.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this would come out of the contingency of our new budget, right? Is that this sheet you gave me?
Yeah,
So
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 before today's allocation, there's a little over, there's about 660,000, 665,000 that's unallocated at this point. This would take up.
It would take half of it.
Piece of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem I have. I mean, and I appreciate the work you did on this contract. I think this is the best contract you could have brought forward to us. I just hate cutting our contingency that low, this early in the year. Is there any way we can just go ahead and approve the contract and then see if we can come with budget savings, and then when we get later down the road, go back to contingency then? Or do you want to allocate it out of contingency to make sure it's there?
My recommendation, my understanding is the board is not allowed to approve an item without the funding associated.
Okay. Right.
Commissioner Jacobson, anything?
No, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Hendricks?
No, I'm happy with what we've ended up with. I know it's been a long process and I always do have concerns with contingency, but hopefully we can find a way to offset that in the future.
And I believe that if you compare the percentage spent on law enforcement in any county, state, federal government, you're going to find we're about the same percentage as everybody. Is knowing, what it costs. And of course, we're okay with our positions and filling our positions where a lot of places aren't. So we've got to feel lucky that we can cover Lyon County with the proper law enforcement that we need. I don't think anybody wants to be unsafe. So do I hate taking money out of contingency to cover the contract? Absolutely. But we got to pay. We got to do it. So let's look at that and press on with any further comments from commissioners. If not, we'll look at comments from the public. Seeing none, I'll look for a motion on 16C.
I have a question.
Nope.
Does the motion need to mention that additional funds will come from contingency?
Yeah, I believe we need to put that in there since it is from the
Then
source.
I'll make the motion. I move that we approve a one-year agreement with the Lyon County Sheriff's Employees Association effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and eliminate 3 vacant deputy positions, and that the shortfall be paid for through contingency.
Can we put a limit on that?
And
You can say the contingency would be, I would just say $377,000.
In the amount of $377,000.
Second.
okay. Motion by Commissioner Hendricks and a second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 16D for possible action, approve a memorandum of understanding regarding longevity pay with the Lyon County Sheriff's Employees Association effective July 1st, 2024.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So as we were in negotiations and we got the contract and tentative agreement, the discussion was that there's an employee who is anticipated to retire mid-year, this long-standing employee at the county. And the change in the language on longevity would negatively affect that person. And they asked if, under those circumstances, we would allow him to elect to stay as existing step 9, not move to step 10, and lose his longevity one-time payout on his anniversary, which is this July. And he would just stay at that, wouldn't receive any other longevity pay other than that bonus. If he, for some reason, didn't retire when his anniversary came up, he would move to the step 10, the longevity would go away and he'd be on the package. So that sounded like something that was reasonable. We didn't want to harm employees with contract language changes.
Question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the Sheriff Employees Association's on board.
They requested it.
That's all I need to hear.
Okay, anything further? I don't see Commissioner Jacobson jumping up, so I will assume that we're going on to public comment. Seeing none, I'll look for a motion on 16D.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a memorandum of understanding regarding longevity pay with the Lyon County Sheriff Employees Association effective July 1, 2024.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Let's look at item 17A for possible action under advisory board. Acknowledge resignation of Chris Gonzalez from the Dayton Regional Advisory Board. Everybody read that? Do I have a motion on accepting his resignation? Public comment, any public comment other than thanking him for his service on the Regional Advisory Board? I appreciate everybody that gets involved in those things and helps out with the communities.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I want to personally thank Mr. Gonzalez for his service. He's been on the Regional Advisory Board for a while, has served as chair a couple of times, and he's going to be missed on the board.
Okay.
With that, I would move that we acknowledge the resignation of Chris Gonzalez from the Dayton Regional Advisory Board.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes 5-0 and thanking him for his service. We are going to have a time certain at 1 o'clock with the Health Board. So we will have to adjourn for lunch, which fits right in.
Chairman Huckabee?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. If the commission is fine with it having a 4-member board, I will be not be able to make it back for the afternoon session with the health. But I think that my 4 colleagues there can handle that portion of the meeting. So while I apologize for not being back after the break, I do wish you all a great day.
That's denied, Commissioner Jacobson. All right, have a good
You're a
afternoon.
good man, Mr. Huckabee.
Have a good one. We'll
All
let
right,
you
take
go
care,
this
you
time.
guys.
Take care. Be careful out there. All right, so we are going to adjourn. It is 11:36. The next session, or next part of the session will start at 1 o'clock. Please be in your seats by 1 o'clock so we can start exactly at 1. So we're going to adjourn for lunch. And you're good. You're on.
All right. Well, unlike most of my life, I am here actually on time, and we're going to call this meeting of the Lyon County Board of Health to order. And thank you all for being here. I don't think we have to take roll, but all members are in attendance.
Yes.
Who are missing?
Jacobson is now.
Yes.
He's excused.
Okay.
This afternoon.
The only missing member is Commissioner Jacobson, who has been excused. And with that, we'll open this. The first line is public participation. Any public online? Not hearing or seeing anybody in the room. We'll go ahead and do the regular agenda for possible action, presentation, and seeking board input on Northern Regional Behavioral Health Board's bill draft request, or BDR, plans and overview of the BDR from the other regional behavioral health boards. Sherilyn Raw-Wood is, I see, available, and she is the coordinator for the Northern Regional Behavioral Health Board. Sherilyn, it's all yours.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute. Let me pull up my presentation that I have for you. And if you could disable participant screen sharing, that would be great as well. Sorry about that.
You should be all set.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. And All right, everybody can see my screen, hopefully. So I'm just going to kind of do an overview. Caveat today is this afternoon is the Northern Regional Behavioral Health Policy Board meeting. It was rescheduled from July 4th.
We can barely hear you. Maybe you could talk a little louder, or we could turn you up from our end.
Okay, is that better, Dr. Titus? Better?
Well, we're all the way up on our end.
I never.
It sounds like you're far, far away.
Okay, let me look to see if I can raise my speaker. Is that a little better now?
Yes.
Okay, I think my speaker was down. Sorry about that. So caveat today is that the Northern Regional Behavioral Health Policy Board will meet this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So we didn't have a July 4th meeting. So the concepts that I'm going to bring forward to you have really been kind of dissected and dialed down. There's probably still a little bit more that needs to be done by the BDR subcommittee. And they met 3 times so far, and we have another meeting on Monday to really kind of solidify what they want to do. So I just wanted to put that caveat out that the board has not yet picked what the subcommittee is going to bring to them. So this is just kind of a refresher, and then hopefully maybe we can talk about what that ask will look like once the board meets. All right. All right, so just the agenda that we're going to go through. So one of the priorities that we looked at, we had started with 5 priorities. We took our goals and priorities and really kind of looked at those and kind of decided what kind of legislative language could be changed. Can we make a difference with each of these priorities and goals that the board was looking at? And so the board themselves kind of dissected and kind of really had good solid conversation about what priorities they wanted to bring to the table. So the first priority that we really looked at was the ENI, the Economic Needs Index Survey. This is really a statewide school survey that really looks at more so the economic needs of families as a whole, instead of just looking at free lunch, counting what those needs are. When we can look at that whole entire family dynamics, we can look at what more is needed in each region, in each school district. And so you get more of an equity with that. Through that, though, this is just kind of what the need looks like. The only state right now that's currently using the ENI is the New York school system, Department of Education. And as I was doing research on this to kind of what it might look like to bring this to the state, kind of putting it next to the YRBS, because it is different information that you find out. It's proprietary with New York, the New York City Department of Education. They did develop a huge dashboard that really gives some insight into what needs are needed. But the reason why they developed it is because in some of their districts, they have over 1,800 schools. And so they have really, really large districts. So they really wanted to look at how do we segregate and divide the money that is available for our school districts. And so understanding what is needed at each location or each district was important. And so this is what they determined. Well, I met with Department of Education, huge physical note. DOE maybe buy-in in the future. This might be something that they look at, but right now we don't really have a lot of counties with substantial school districts. We have Clark and Washoe that have the majority of the schools. That survey would need to be developed. So it's a bigger task than we thought as we were looking at it. And so I was told it was a bit of a big beast to take on. So the BDR subcommittee kind of voted no to bring this to the actual board, just due to the constraint of how it would look. Maybe down the future, that might be something that we look at to really understand the needs of each school district and what those family needs are. All right, so priority number 2 was really looking at the PRSS, the peer recovery, the peer support specialist, as well as the community health worker, looking at that pay parity, and what does that career path look like moving forward for those certified professionals. And so dug in NRS 433.601 to 641 really describes peers. And then SB 117 was last year's bill that really kind of put more of our peers and community health workers into statute, but still not enough to really bring them to alive and really give them some purpose and need. So this is what we were kind of looking at when we first came together as the BDR subcommittee. We looked at that pay parity, a living wage for certified professional careers. Would that be a Medicaid change or legislative change? After having conversations with Medicaid, they are looking at that already, and potentially in July, they're supposed to be rolling out what those new amounts will look like. And I'll kind of give you guys an overview of what that might look like. We looked at that Medicaid reimbursable rates. As I stated before, where are we in Nevada? And I'll show you what that looks like. Career path for growth, what does that look like? It looks like Be Here is really looking to create that career path for them. Really building that workforce up with our peers and our community health workers, as well as our prevention specialists. So they've kind of tasked that already. They're working with NAMI Western Nevada, who is one of the largest employers of peers and community health workers right now, of 48. And so they're going to do a pilot with NAMI Western Nevada and really look at what those trainings need to be for our peers and community health workers. And so really starting to look at that CE piece to keep their certification up to par. We also looked at making our PRSS and PSSs and community health workers, as well as our prevention specialists, independent contractors. There was some language last session, AB 256 for doulas, that kind of gave them that autonomy. As we were having that conversation, it's something that I think the BDR subcommittee is going to bring to the board this afternoon. But we have to look at who's going to kind of do the association or the advocacy or that pool piece to make sure that the billing of Medicaid is done correctly, as well as use that association or that pool to be a mentor as we're looking at making these contractors kind of independent, always having that kind of backup, just like we do for our first responders. We have peer support for them when they're struggling. Supervision for peers after being certified. There was conversation had that I'll share with you that was said that supervisors for peers had to be for forever. Upon doing research, nowhere in legislation does it say that supervision has to be for forever, nor does it say that in NCB. I think that's just language that's been around. So that was one of the reasons why we thought about developing that association like the community health workers do, to give kind of that mentorship once they have their certification. And then looking at that oversight for CEs, if they are supervised, that lifetime of supervision. And the NCB board already does that as well. I know they're trying to work on making sure that that's done to statute or to law for the ICRC. So these were just some of the legislative changes for community health workers and peers, just kind of a list of what was passed and what failed. In AB 191 in 2021, that was having that high level of supervision. We had to use APRNs, doctors, nurses, things of that level. In 2023, they passed to expand that supervision coverage so that they didn't have to use as high a level of supervision. So that allowed us to be able to get into hospitals and things like that a little bit easier with our community health workers. Our peers, PSSs, they were introduced in 2021. Well, they were introduced in 2015 with SB 489. That was repealed in 2021. SB 69 kind of took over, and that really talked more about the services that we'll give, talking about those organizations and things like that. And then AB 115, I do believe that had to do with, I don't think that had to do with this in 2023. So just some of the states using peers and PSS's reimbursement rate. So if you look at Nevada, we're at 788 right now per 15 minutes for our peers. You can see that other states are a little bit higher. We also have to take into consideration we do not pay state taxes. So they kind of think of that sometimes in making us make more, that take-home income's a little bit higher. I do know, as I stated before, talking with Medicaid, they are looking at raising that rate already without having any voices at the table. I think they've heard from from constituents in the past that really needed to be raised to be able to give them a livable wage. And what is a livable wage? I wish everybody had an answer to that. And then this is states using community health reimbursement rates. So you can kind of see where we are in Nevada. We're pretty comparable with our community health workers. Yeah, they probably can make a little bit more money. And then these codes are for groups with 2 to 4 people and then more than. So you can kind of see they give them the code. We talked about potentially making a pay type for somebody that has their community health worker and their peer. When I spoke with Medicaid, their advice was when you're billing Medicaid, they want to make sure that they put their hours in community health worker and how many hours they stayed in the lane of peer support. So that conversation didn't go very far with Medicaid, but we did try to make that a little bit easier, pay our professionals that have, both certification, a little bit more money, but they're going to look at it as having to put down your time in whatever hat you're wearing. We tried. So these were some of the findings that we had. Physical note of potentially, of course, the pay parity was done with Medicaid this year. Be Here is really going to work on that career path with their pilot program and then hopefully move forward with that. I think the BDR committee is still going to bring to the table this afternoon, making those certified professionals independent, what that could look like, what that language might look like. Also bringing prevention specialists into NRS. If you were to look at the qualifications, the requirements to become a prevention specialist, they are a lot higher than even becoming a community health worker and a peer. Nowhere do they sit in statute. Every coalition that gets SUFTRO's money has to have a prevention specialist. So our thought was bring them back to the fold, bring them into the language with the DOJ report coming out with our schools. Really important to have those prevention specialists in our schools working with our youth when it comes to prevention, creating programs and things like that within the school districts and individual schools. And so looking to really make our prevention specialists part of our state, just as state professional certification workforce, just like we did with community health workers and peers. And then brought up by a lot of constituents in our communities about changing that peer support specialist from adult to anyone 17 and older. We have a lot of youth that want to do this peer work. I think some of us can remember candy stripers and volunteers and things like that. So we have a lot of our kids that are working in schools already doing this work, but now we can actually put them on payroll, give them some money for doing this work and hopefully build that workforce as they get older. So these are some of the things that we're still voting on. We have another BDR subcommittee meeting on Monday to really, like I said, finalize that language. We will be presenting most of this. I will be presenting this to the board this afternoon as we look at what that language could be presented to legislation. Priority 3, and this was brought back again for the second year, is that regionalization, creating that authority, but more of a smaller scale, perhaps a pilot program. But it looks like there's some other entities looking at this. So we kind of just put this on kibosh. We had some really good things to talk about as we were, determining if this is something that we want to take on, such as kind of having that oversight for the MCOs that are going to come out into the rural region. As well as really focus on making open beds, our bed registry, which is going to be utilized with the the new Nevada crisis response system and 988. So you'll be hearing a lot more, I'm sure, about open beds because this is going to be the bed registry that we will be using. That enables kind of that authority to take corrective actions when necessarily. Right now, Medicaid has no oversight of pay type 14. So that's something potentially that the authority could look at, making sure that the oversight for pay type 14 actually comes to fruition and we could kind of monitor that. But through that and having spoken and done a presentation at the interim HHS meeting that Senator Donate held, he was very interested in finding out all the information about this authority and this regionalization. And I've heard from the grapevine potentially, I don't know if it's true or not. I do have an email out to Senator Donate if they're going to pick this up and move forward with authority with regionalization. So let's see. There was recently a document that came out of solicitation of healthcare provider recommendations relating to Nevada Medicaid. I don't know if any of you all got that, but when I read off 5 of these or 6 of these, really truly what this board is trying to bring through fruition with their BDR will help kind of negate some of these questions that we're having, issues with. Hurdles recruiting and retraining healthcare workers, get them started early, pay them a good wage so they'll come to the table, right? Working with Medicaid to get those reimbursement rates better, making them independent so that they can then work with an association or a pool to help them bill. you know, bringing these professionals, these certified professionals out to even more primary care and independent providers and things like that. And so I really felt like that we were kind of in line with our behavioral health, which is what our board looks at, as well as health. So those are the PDR concepts that we're looking at, making the peers, PSS certified professionals independent, with an oversight, association oversight, and that mentorship. You know, as I'm explaining it to people, we train our peers and our community health workers and prevention specialists to reach out when they're struggling, right? So it should be no different that if I'm working in this profession and I'm struggling, I have a peer to reach out to. And so creating these oversights or these pools can really help with that mentorship, as well as making sure that the NCB is doing what they need to do. Secondly, was that prevention specialist in NRS, bringing that back to fruition. I do have Davis Florence right now, my LCB that I've been working with the last month or two, doing a research on the prevention specialist. It kind of came up in the last BDR committee to kind of start talking about this piece, just due to all the work that we're doing in prevention, and making sure that these certified professionals really have a course in our future with workforce development. And then, of course, changing that peer support specialist language in NRS 433627 from adult to anyone 16 and older to do this work. And that is it. So any questions, any takeaways, tips that you'd like for me to bring back to the board or the subcommittee meeting? I would love to have a conversation. Okay. Oh, let me fill you in really quick. Here's what the BDRs are looking like with our board. Sorry. The rural board is looking at the social work compact and potentially may look at counseling compact as well, but for sure they're going to work on the social work compact. Southern is going to kind of try transportation again, see what they can do, potentially looking with Medicaid on getting that empty return. Sometimes they take people, but they don't get paid for that return. So making it a little bit more feasible for, especially in our rural regions. Washoe is looking to create a pilot on collecting data on who isn't abiding by parity law. Clark, not sure what they're doing. They kind of have been without a coordinator. And so I don't know if they've had a board meeting recently. So I can't report out to that. And then of course, our BDR concepts. So that is my share.
Do we have any questions? Just a comment and overview for folks that may not know what these boards are all about that are listening in, and just a quick clarification. We have 5 different behavioral health boards created by statute a number of years ago in Nevada. We are on what we call the northern region, and it represents about 5 different counties, pretty much what our quad county group is. And your own very own Shayla Holmes is the actual chair of that committee. I sit on it also because it's one legislative member of each of those committees. So and we are all charged with one BDR, and really the role is to look at the mental health needs in the regional areas. So that was just a general overview, and we can come up with many different ideas on these bills. And any thoughts or questions for that? The mental health needs are great. The resources are limited. Along that same line, then we're going to go ahead and do, thank you, Sherilyn, for all that, and we'll talk to you later on this afternoon.
Perfect. Thank you.
On 20B for possible action, presentation seeking board input on top issues and recommendations identified by Ali Abatanagello. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but if I didn't, I apologize.
Hello, Shayla Holmes, Lyon County Human Services Director for the record. I am presenting to you today a report completed by a Master's of Public Health, Ali Abentangello. I'm going to go with that. She was previously with the Division of Public and Behavioral Health. She put together this great analysis document, which was provided as late backup to you all. She has since taken a different position and was no longer available to be here to present her findings herself, but I thought it was good information to share, so I am sharing this on behalf of her. This is all based off of her report, of which I shared as late backup. So this is right out of that document. In her comparisons, she excluded the health districts and focused on just the counties served by the state for their public health needs. She used the county health ratings and rankings data compiled by the University of Wisconsin. This is a really extensive report that has been around for, I want to say, about 20 years. And it's the most comprehensive compilation of different data points. It's not data they come up with themselves. They pull from various data banks, such as the National Center for Health Statistics, Behavioral Health Risk Factor Surveillance System, Fatality Analysis Reporting System, USDA Food Environment Atlas, Small Area Health Insurance Estimates, Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, and a whole lot more. So these data points and the way they come up with these percentages is their culmination of a variety of different data sets. And Allie went through this year's report and compared it to previous years and our surrounding counties, except for those that are districted. Although not quite accurately, she excluded Churchill County, but not all the counties included in the Central Nevada Health District. So I think that's going to be something that the division is going to have to get used to going forward and figuring out how they prepare these reports in the future. Just to give you guys a visualization of what that means. This is the health outcome rankings from that ratings and rankings report from the University of Wisconsin. Those that are highlighted are not included in her comparison. And there we are with that big giant arrow, we're number 10. So we're near the bottom. Out of 16 counties, Esmeralda is never ranked because they don't have a big enough population to produce statistically significant information. So the Nevada comparison piece is interesting. So I decided to include this for you guys on here too. These are the highlighted areas for the entire state versus the national statistics. These are the 5 key areas. So Nevada is doing a little bit worse on fair or poor health days. We're doing a little bit worse on poor mental health days. We're doing a little bit worse, not by much, on physical inactivity. We're doing a little bit better on adult obesity. And we're doing a little bit worse on teen births. And that is the rate per every 1,000 females aged 15 to 19, although there are certainly some births that have occurred locally earlier than 15, which is a tragedy, in my opinion. So looking at Lyon County specifically, here are the data points of which Ms. Abintangello identified as critical to Lyon County in comparison to our peers, excluding those ones previously mentioned. Some of these are probably not new to you guys. Some are a little interesting. So highest percentage of driving deaths with alcohol involvement. Second highest percentage of adult binge drinking. Those two go hand in hand. Second highest percentage of workers who commute alone for more than 30 minutes. We probably could have guessed that one. The second highest rate of chlamydia. That was good to know. And that is actually out of all Nevada counties. That is not, she made a special note in there that that's not exclusionary of the other health districts.
Let me jump in and ask, what did she include? Because we do specific testing for our brothels, we may have a skewed amount of those tests that are positive, because that was part of our ordinance over the years on the brothel board. So did she take that into consideration?
No, she did not.
Yeah, and so I think things like that really are, I think that's why we probably have the second highest, because we test,
and it's also
one
the
of the
second highest percentage, right? Not actual individuals, just percentage of the population available. So
then the question on the first one though is, are we talking about residents for alcohol involved driving deaths or just people in the county?
people, just deaths on our highways, like
Okay.
within
could
our
be somebody
borders.
driving through, doesn't
Right.
have to be our,
Okay.
okay.
Could be a Churchill County resident, could be a Carson City resident, could be a Reno resident. Coming home from night in the country, heading on out, right? We'll make it a little timely for the recent event.
Thank you.
Can you explain to me what the commute alone, what's the significance about that?
Commute alone, there's some research, and I'm not the expert on this specific data point, that lends itself towards you're more easily distracted. You're more likely to nod off. You're more likely to be involved in an accident. if you're commuting alone. A long commute in itself is also, you're more likely to get in a car accident or have a highway fatality because you're on the road longer. Just statistically, you're more likely. But also doing that alone makes you more at risk for some of these other dangerous behaviors while driving.
That's why the sheriff said to go as fast as possible, so
Yeah, just get there.
get out of that statistic.
Yeah, get them off the road. To kind of go along the same lines of as that commuting alone for more than 30 minutes, we have the third highest rate of insufficient sleep. It's an interesting thing to consider out here in Lyon County. 15% of our adults under the age of 65 lack
Hold
health
on,
insurance.
what we're gonna,
How do they come up with that statistic of insufficient sleep?
Data set that's based off of, so it's skewed, right? And it's weighted because obviously they're not coming around and engaging in all of us and asking us how great our sleep is. These are what happens when you see your general practitioner. There's a variety of data sets that they ask you during your annual physical exam, and it's self-reported, self-response. I average 6 hours of sleep a night. I average 10 hours of sleep a night. So for those individuals that are actually engaging with primary preventative care, and that primary preventative care provider participates in the national health statistics and provides that information and does those screenings. So you're right, it's very skewed.
Lies,
but
damn
that's what
lies and
it's for.
statistics.
Yeah.
yeah, so all those questions they're asking you, all those data that they're gathering, then see, this is what they come up with it.
Yeah.
So on OSHA, they came up with a statistic, and I think it's in the upper 90% of people falling off a ladder. Someone was holding it, and I'm sure that's because when they're in the hospital, they said, "Oh yeah, I had somebody off the ladder."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you do have to keep in mind where these data points are coming from, how they're being collected. But this is also the data we have available to us. So this is also where, when we're coming up with strategic planning, when we're identifying gaps and trying to figure out how we do the best we can as an entity or as an organization to make significant change in our county, this is where we go to. This is the data that's available to us. Perhaps something we can look at a higher level as to how we can do better at getting better data, but you're right. It can get skewed, particularly when you're looking at where it comes from. The provider ratios, there is no lack of knowing that we do not have significant providers locally. We have some of the highest ratios of dentists and primary care to number of individuals within the population. So we have very few primary care and very few dentists. It is not necessarily accurate as far as how people are able to access, because it doesn't take into consideration who has a dentist or primary care outside of our Lyon County borders. But it is something that gets highlighted every time. And so there's some recommendations based on that. So in Ally's report, she made some recommendations along the way for both the state as a whole and for Lyon County specifically. She's recommending teen pregnancy reduction programs and sex education in schools. That was for the entire state, since we have a slightly higher teen birth rate. Implement alcohol awareness prevention programs in school and work environments. Building residential areas closer to popular job locations and job creation. Build clinical infrastructure and provide incentives to physicians and dentists to relocate. And sex education and free STI testing. Some of these things do exist, and I think when we are able to implement our SB 118 monies to public health campaign, that would be a way to address some of these things. Educating the public on where these things are, how to go about some of these activities in a safe way is one way that we could produce some positive outcomes. And when we implement those SB 118 dollars, we do intend to have outcomes-based results. So we will be tracking data as far as what these data points and other local data sets look like, and as far as do we see a reduction? Does our marketing campaign make an impact? And that is it.
So do we have any questions? Again, that data is just data, and trying to use some of it to make change is a whole different ballgame. One of the things that I'm always concerned about when we look at that and we do research data on ratios of providers, population, Lyon County is very unique in a way that we have, and it's an issue for our hospital and rural health designation as a rural. I think it's an issue for our county too, because some of those may be worse than what we're seeing in that ratio. frequently we get included based on your zip code. And in Lyon County, we have a real issue where in Smith Valley, we have Wellington, which is 89444, but that also covers Douglas County, which has a clinic there with different providers and a patient population. And so when you're applying for some healthcare needs, they say, oh, no, you have all those providers and they're not really in our county. So it's actually become an issue and a funding issue also. So something this board, I think, should maybe address at some point. It's not on this agenda. However, that designation of 89444 in Smith Valley, Wellington, the old town of Wellington, where I live, and it's been established since the 1800s. They expanded it to TRE, and then that does, and I think in law enforcement of many, many things that affects this county. So at some point, and it affects this data. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think as a board, it might be something to address, such as the post office is these days.
Now, on that note, I think those provider ratios also come from the National Provider Identifier. So sometimes it looks like we're really wealthy in mental health providers, but we're not really, because they're Lyon County residents registered in Lyon County, but they're working out of Reno or they're working out of Carson City. So it does go against us in a couple of ways, but the zip code's one we could probably own.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much. And then 20C, possible action presentation board input on Quad County Health District feasibility study. I think it's still yours.
It's still me, Shayla Holmes, for the record, Lyon County Human Services Director. I did want to give you guys an update on how the Quad County Health District feasibility study was going. You guys approved that sub-award and we got started with that contractor. Gosh, I want to say at the late end of last year. And we're nearing the end of this study. So where we're at right now, what has happened is a subcommittee of 3 individuals per county was brought together, convened. It's convened multiple times. I want to say 5 or 6 times. Those 3 individuals were assigned by the respective county managers. So it's a subcommittee of 12 people with equal representation from everybody of the Quad counties: Douglas, Lyon, Carson City, and Story. We've met several times to discuss the project needs and the desires of each county, identify what are no-goes, what are things we would need to see if this were to move forward, and discuss, desirability of what that looks like. The most recent meeting was very productive. The contractor provided an extremely extensive list. I want to say at least 80 points of what comes out of NRS on health district legal requirements and options, because some of it is may and some of it is shall. And so that subcommittee discussed every single item as far as, yes, we'd be interested in that. No, we don't want to see change in that. And then we need to know more about this. So that contractor is currently working on the further research of the items identified from that very extensive list. I want to say that was like a 4-hour long meeting. We were there for a while. Andrew is very overjoyed. And we have about 4 months left on this contract. The next steps, I think, will be a final subcommittee meeting to discuss models produced out of that. Then there will be a report which will be presented to you guys, and that will include the models discussed that equaled both feasible and desirable, which we're not sure there's going to be one at this point, but we'll see. And then what the cost per capita associated with. That's the most critical component. Just for the sake of this conversation, we pay $156,000 a year right now to the state of Nevada for public health services. There is not any model that we pay that amount and get the same services back and meet all of the NRS requirements as an individual county. So when we're talking feasibility and we're talking costs, I don't think there would ever equal desirability to have change unless it was mandated change. And this was done to provide the information necessary to you all in case mandated change ever came forth, to allow the best options to move forward. And we have quite a few available to us as a county. So I look forward to having that report completed and being able to bring you guys the findings from that, most likely December or January of next year.
Thank you again. That so critical. Do we have questions for more details? I think the take home here at the state, it's something the state would really like to see every county do, because it would take them out of the responsibility. is to form health districts and combine. But it is hard to argue that cost of $156 per resident, basically, is what it costs us now. And it would be dramatically better. Do you have a figure? And I think maybe Andrew, you might have a figure because we've discussed this regarding what, say, Churchill County now pays into that central district and what's county, because it went up for them significantly.
It went up for them significantly. I don't know the cost for Churchill County. I know the city of Fallon pays approximately 200,000. And so the city of Fallon is essentially Churchill County, but excludes some of their outer liar areas. And so if you consider their population is significantly less than ours, that is a good chunk of change.
Right. So when you say 200,000, that's 200,000 for the city of Fallon, we pay 156,000 Lyon County, right?
For all of Lyon County.
For all
roughly
55,
60,000.
however,
Yeah.
60,000. So, I mean, that's a significant difference. And the cost, and at this point, it's not being mandated. We do receive the services and the backup through the Quad County, and we turn out, over to Carson City, and they're able to do that. They would love for us because the money, to form that Quad County, because then that monies would be going then to Carson District or whatever the name would be.
Right.
And so, but I really think you as a board of the commissioners and this health board would want to take a hard look, unless it's mandated. For, my opinion would be that that's not something you want to do right now. There are other things that we as a county should address. And until, if I feel or Shayla feels that we're not getting the resources or the needs, then, it might be something else. But right now I have the state on speed dial and text, and I think they're not going to ignore us if Lyon County needs something. And so I can't guarantee that'll continue, but I'm just saying now is not the time with different, if we look at an economy of scale and what Lyon County needs. But I'm anxious to hear at the final presentation because I think it was great information and a good decision to do a feasibility study.
I do on that note, very along the same lines, that something for us to plant the seed for this board going forward is those SB 118 monies. They will be looking at making sure those monies continue. Right now, they are on a population percentage. That is another reason why some of our neighboring counties might want to participate in a health district study with us, because if you look at that, our population is pretty significant. Our chunk of change coming to us through SB 118 is a good amount of money. And if we do identify a need through this board or other data points of what we would like to do in regards to public health, those monies will be coming to us again, most likely in the future. There is talk of some legislation requests this year as far as adjusting the way that that's calculated and what that looks like. But I would just like to put that as a seed for you guys as far as how we can continue to address public health needs locally with some dollars coming through state legislature.
Yeah, and I would just add to what Shayla just said, because I sit on the interim HHS committee. We had a policy meeting yesterday, and that is definitely something that the chair Donate is addressing and is going to, we will bring forward more monies and more equitable distribution of that money, because right now Clark County is getting the big chunks of those things, and we're really going to kind of rein that in a little bit. And that is one of his priorities, as you have already stated. So we're going to continue to sustain some of that funding for public health, which is a good thing.
Great. Okay.
All right, thank you. And with that, is there any comments from the board members before we go back to public participation? Anybody have any thoughts or comments or yays or nays or things you want me to work on? Questions for me? The state of the health in this county, I think right now is, knock on wood, pretty good. The hospital has this wonderful helicopter sitting there that's for quick access, which is actually in a crisis is pretty nice. Many a time in my career, I've had to ride in an ambulance doing CPR because we couldn't get, a helicopter here. That's not to say things, there's times that bird won't be able to fly, but having it here is good to know. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate all what your staff is doing and that communication level. I think that there's going to be some good healthcare policy that comes out this session. that to help rurals, especially access to care, nursing, all those things that we've started. Sherilyn started with the initial presentation regarding nursing programs, the social worker compact and some of the stuff, because that's truly something. And our governor, literally, we were meeting this morning in Carson with the elected officials and governor on policies, and healthcare access is huge, and supporting the rurals is huge. And so no one's here in a vacuum. And I think that communication is going to continue for a while. So with that, we'll open it to public participation. If there's any public desired on the phone. And nobody in the room. And so with that, I'm going to adjourn whatever time it is, 1:42, the Lyon County Board of Health. Thank you very much. I'm gonna-
5 minutes.
We'll take 5. Yep. Yeah.
I think the best thing I've heard of that first presentation was
You know, it makes me crazy to study. Everybody studies. We gotta do studies. Let's do a subcommittee. Let's do it. Really? You're down with that. And you're not the dating student. Yeah, it is all student. But
studies in that have other challenges.
But I want to tell you that feasibility study for your before looking at numbers and costs. Yeah, for that, it was worth the investment. You know, you don't want to do it.
Dr. Johnson. Yeah, so,
Yeah, we're working hard. The governor's folks really hear us blame great and he and I have
1:47, and we are reconvened as the Lyon County Board of Commissioners. Item 22, agenda requests. Commissioner Hendricks,
Not at this time.
Commissioner Henderson.
Yeah, I do have one, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while. And NACO is a good organization. It does a lot of good things. And a lot of the work that gets done is able to get done because of relationships that are built there. So I would like an agenda item, either the first or second meeting in August, to appoint a member of this board to the NACO Board of Directors, because at this next Friday's NACO meeting, I'm going to announce that I'm stepping down for the board. This way it will give the people who's going to be on this commission after January a chance to continue to develop those relationships.
Nothing.
Final comments, Commissioner Hendricks.
Yep, not at this time.
Commissioner Henderson.
Somebody turn off the heat.
Commissioner Keller.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna go to final participation about this time. Anybody have anything to say? The audience here, final participation for 3 minutes. I do see a hand up on the Zoom board, so that we can give you input at any time, whether that might be gas code 9905.
We wanted to speak in public participation, but we can't hear you. So we're not sure if this is the opportunity that we have to speak.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Lonnie Dietrich, and next to me is my husband, Dennis.
I'm here. Hello.
And we live in Santa Maria Ranch. And for the record, we strongly oppose the soccer field in Santa Maria Ranch, and we request that the soccer goals purchase be postponed until the current existing residents of Santa Maria Ranch have an opportunity to weigh in and voice on the matter and allowed to be heard, and voices, so their voices can be heard, I'm sorry. So the park has not had a soccer field for nearly a decade, and the current residents should be allowed support or opposition and concerns they might have prior to moving forward with the new installation. We request for your consideration that this be placed on a future agenda. Thank you.
Okay, any further public comment from anybody? Seeing none, we will move on. We don't have a closed session today. From my understanding, no closed session. And in that case, we are adjourning at 1:50.